Chapter 2479. Betrayal? Nothing. I just find them interesting and want to take them in as slaves. Long San waved it off, indicating that the Dark Tower Immortal King need not panic. To be able to block his Emperor-ranked battle skill with his intermediate Immortal King cultivation level, it was enough to show that Ningyu and the rest were no pushovers. It would be a pity to kill such a martial artist. He might as well take them in as slaves and groom them slowly. Who knows, they might even become powerful helpers. Humph, you had better not fail miserably. The Dark Tower Immortal King snorted coldly as he took a few steps back. For some reason, the Dark Tower Immortal King felt that things were not that simple. Logically speaking, if he called Long San over, Ningyu would definitely be furious at him and berate him for not keeping his word. He might even use his soul power to threaten him. At the very least, he would use his soul power. But Ningyu did not do any of these things. He was not angry, nor did he use his soul power. This confused him. Usually, there was only one possibility for something like this to happen. Ningyu was fearless and confident. Long San did not care what the Dark Tower Immortal King was thinking. He raised an eyebrow as he looked at Ningyu with interest. Your strength is not bad. Open your mind and let me control you. I can spare your lives. What are you talking about? The corner of Ningyu's lips curled into an arc as he said, You may be powerful, but you're too arrogant if you think you can defeat us with just that. As he spoke, Ningyu's face turned cold as he looked at the Dark Tower Immortal King. Dark Tower Immortal King, why are you so far away? Lin Lang and I will hold Long San back. What are you waiting for? Not good. Bad news. Both the Dark Tower Immortal King and Long San were shocked when they heard Ningyu's words. The Dark Tower Immortal King was afraid that Long San would be bewitched by Ningyu, while Long San was afraid that the Dark Tower Immortal King would ally with Ningyu to plot against him. Whoosh! In an instant, Long San and Ningyu pulled apart some distance, floating in the air. Shifting his gaze towards the Dark Tower Immortal King, Long San said coldly, Don't you think you owe me an explanation? Explain? What explanation do I have to give you? The Dark Immortal King was equally sullen. No matter how much he had calculated, he hadn't expected Long San to love him. Originally, he had thought that Long San would be able to easily kill Ningyu and Lin Lang. Who would have thought? Not only did Long San not kill them, but he also suspected him. How aggrieved, extremely aggrieved. Don't play dumb here, Long San said fiercely. I've suspected it for a long time. With your super strong strength at the peak of the Celestial King stage, how could you not kill 3 martial artists at the intermediate stage of the Celestial King stage? It turns out that you wanted to conspire with them to kill me. Don't slander me. The Dark Immortal King's lungs were about to explode. When had he ever schemed against Long San? If he really wanted to scheme, he wouldn't have gone to Ningyu and Lin Lang. I'm slandering you? Fine then, you go and make a move. Kill them. Long San pointed at Ningyu and Lin Lang and said, the Dark Immortal King couldn't say it out loud. He had paid a huge price to invite Long San to help, but in the end he still had to act. One had to know. There was still Ningyu's soul power at his heart. Although Ningyu's soul power would only destroy his second heart, the loss of one heart would still affect him greatly. You win. The Dark Immortal King glared at Long San. I'll kill Ningyu. You go and kill Lin Lang and Ning Lu, as well as that black dog. I don't need you to teach me that, Long San said mildly. Swoosh! With that, Long San's figure flashed as he rushed towards Lin Lang and Ning Lu. Swoosh! As for the Dark Immortal King, he rushed towards Ningyu. Dark Immortal King, how dare you? With a thought, Ningyu activated a portion of the Dark Immortal King's soul power at his heart. Uft! Just as Ningyu detonated his soul power, the Dark Immortal King spat out a mouthful of blood, his aura weakening. Helpless, the dark immortal king could only stop where he was. You. He extended his right hand and pointed at Ningyu, his face full of terror. He had never imagined that Ningyu would know that he had two hearts, and had even secretly transferred his soul power to his other heart. Now, as long as Ningyu activated his soul power, he would die for sure. If you know what's good for you, you'd better join forces with me against Long San. Otherwise, I can't guarantee what will happen. Ningyu said mildly. Fine. The dark immortal king's heart bled. No matter how much he schemed, he had still fallen for Ningyu's ploy. Long San, if you know what's good for you, you'd better surrender now, lest I kill you. The dark immortal king took a deep breath and said to Long San, on account of how hard it has been for you to cultivate, as long as you surrender, I can spare your life. As expected, Long San stopped where he was, his eyes darkening. It seemed like Ningyu was right. The dark immortal king had called him here to kill him. Taking a deep breath, Long San said, You pieces of trash want to kill me? You're overestimating yourselves. Rumble. The next instant, a terrifying aura emanated from Long San's body. As the aura appeared, a golden pillar as thick as a person's waist appeared above Long San's head. Great Tao. Long San had cultivated his great Tao, and now he was using it against his enemy. Dark Immortal King. This day next year will be your death anniversary. As he spoke, Long San manipulated the great Tao above his head to attack the Dark Immortal King. Damn it. Seeing Long San's great Tao coming for him, the Dark Immortal King cursed under his breath. The Dark Immortal King knew very well Ningyu would not help him. Ningyu's real intention was to let him and Long San both suffer, and then reap the rewards. He knew this, but there was nothing he could do. If he did not fight Long San, Ningyu would definitely trigger the soul power in his heart, killing him on the spot. If he fought Long San, he might have a chance. He was helpless. He could only try his best to fight Long San and think of a way to defeat him. However, how could Long San be defeated so easily? On the Immortal King ranking, Long San was ranked around 70, while the Dark Immortal King was ranked around 90. No matter how you looked at it, the Dark Immortal King could not defeat Long San. Bang! And that was indeed the case. Long San used only 5 minutes to defeat the Dark Immortal King. The Dark Immortal King fell heavily to the ground, face down. Uft, 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 spitting out mouthfuls of fresh blood. The Dark Immortal King's aura fell to rock bottom. Do it! The moment the Dark Immortal King was defeated, Ningyu bellowed and rushed forward. Although Long San was strong, he had just battled the Dark Immortal King, and he was not left with much energy. As the saying went, strike while you're down. Ningyu did not expect the Dark Immortal King to defeat Long San. Chapter 2480. Chapter 2480. Chapter 248. Pyrrhic Victory Whoosh. Whoosh, whoosh. 3 figures attacked Long San from 3 different directions. Ningyu, Ninglu, Linlang. All 3 of them had unleashed their trump cards. Ningyu activated the first transformation of the war god and poured all the energy in his body into the red demon's sword, slashing at Long San. A golden branch appeared above Ning Lu's head and ruthlessly lashed at Long San. As for Lin Lang, halfway through his charge he suddenly stopped. Lin Lang stopped, not because he feared Long San, but because he took out a golden talisman and threw it into the air. Explode! Along with a low shout, the golden talisman exploded with a loud bang. Lin Lang's cultivation was only at the peak of the early stage of the Immortal King realm. There was a huge gap between him and Ningyu and Ninglu. He was very self-aware. Even if he used all his strength, he wouldn't be able to injure Long San. Therefore, he took out a talisman that he had hidden for a long time. After leaving the Holy Ming Empire, he brought a total of hundreds of thousands of talismans with him. Amongst them, there were only 3 of the most powerful ones. Immortal Vanquishing Talisman. The so-called Immortal Slaying Talisman, as the name suggested, could even easily kill immortals. Of course, this was a little exaggerated. However, if the Immortal Vanquishing Talisman that Lin Lang had taken out was activated with full force, even the experts ranked around 90 on the Celestial King ranking might not be able to withstand it. Although Long San was ranked around 70th on the Immortal King ranking, he was currently being held back by Ningyu and Ninglu. He could only use 1/5 of his strength to deal with the Immortal Vanquishing Talisman. Under such circumstances, the Immortal Vanquishing Talisman would naturally be of great use. All of you will die today. Long San was so angry that his nose was crooked. Before he came, he had never expected the Dark Tower Immortal King to betray him. Otherwise, why would he be so flustered? But even so, Long San didn't think he would lose. After all, he was a peerless expert ranked around 70th on the Immortal King ranking. He had already condensed a great Tao, and the strength of his body had also reached the level of an early stage, first-level Quasi-Emperor. Next, he only needed to fuse the great Tao with his body to advance to the true Quasi-Emperor realm. Taking a deep breath, Long San did his best to calm himself down. Long San knew this better than anyone. The current situation was very disadvantageous to him. He needed to be highly focused and couldn't relax in the slightest. Otherwise, only death awaits him. Noisy! Ning, you could not care less about what Long San was thinking. He controlled the red demon sword and slashed out in the air. Then he dashed forward, using his physical body to clash with Long San. In terms of pure physical strength, Ningyu feared no one. Kill! Ning Lu let out a low shout, and the golden branch suddenly grew larger, ruthlessly whipping towards Long San's neck. Rumble! Very quickly, Ningyu, Lin Lang, and Ning Lu's attacks reached Long San. Dragon conquers the world. At the critical moment, Long San used his Emperor tier battle skill again. Dragon conquers the world. Compared to the Dark Tower Immortal King, Long San was much stronger. Even if he used the half-step Emperor-ranked battle technique, the Obelisk King's Fist, he could only use it twice. Long San was different. The toughness of Long San's body and the strength of the great Tao he had condensed allowed him to continuously use Emperor tier battle skills. Rumble! In an instant, the earth-shattering fist radiance collided with the attacks of Ningyu and the others. Pucci! After one move, Lin Lang spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. He landed heavily on the ground, basically losing the ability to fight. On the other hand, although Ningyu and Ninglu were also severely injured, they could still continue to fight. As for Long San, he had used Dragon Conquers the World for the second time, and his internal organs had already suffered considerable damage. Dragon Conquers the World. Long San did not choose to stop. He raised his head and roared. All the muscles in his body burst forth, and he used Dragon Conquers the World for the third time. Crack, crack, crack. Because Long San had overused his Emperor tier battle skill, the bones in his body made cracking sounds. Generally speaking, Emperor tier battle skills could only be used by a true Quasi-Emperor. For someone like Long San to forcefully use an Emperor tier battle skill, it was extremely damaging to his body. Fortunately, Long San had a special physique and had the body of a true dragon. Otherwise, he would have died on the spot when he used Dragon Conquers the World for the third time. So he's not human. Ningyu's eyes narrowed slightly. He had originally thought that Long San was a human martial artist, but now it seemed that his judgment was wrong. Long San had the body of a true dragon, and in a sense he was already considered a sub-dragon. After devouring your blood, my god of war body should be able to improve further, Ningyu thought to himself. Ningyu was very clear. If he wanted to cultivate the god of war body to the second transformation, he had to devour the blood essence of the top physiques in the myriad heavens and worlds. Of course, there were no absolutes. The blood essence of the top physiques in the myriad heavens and worlds might not be as useful as the blood essence of a quasi-emperor, and Long San's blood essence was infinitely close to that of a quasi-emperor. If he devoured his blood, Ning Yu's god of war body might improve further, and there was a chance that he could advance to the second transformation of the god of war, true dragon body. Long San raised his head and roared. His body suddenly changed into the shape of a giant dragon. Originally, Long San's physical strength was that of an early-level quasi-emperor. Now that he had transformed into a giant dragon, his physical strength was that of a mid-level quasi-emperor. I'd like to see if your body is harder or mine. Long San's eyes turned cold, and he charged at Ningyu at a terrifying speed. Chi-Chi. Due to his incredible speed, the friction between Long San's huge body and the air produced a hissing sound. You think I'm afraid of you? Ningyu was naturally not afraid of Long San. Not to mention that Long San's physical strength was that of a mid-level quasi-emperor. Even if it was a late-level quasi-emperor, Ningyu would not be afraid. There was no other reason. His physical strength was that of a peak first-level quasi-emperor. Ningyu executed the first transformation of the god of war to the extreme, and he collided with Long San's body. Crack! The two collided. Ningyu and Long San were sent flying at the same time. Both of them landed heavily on the ground, creating a huge crater. Who won? The Dark Immortal King stared unblinkingly at the crater created by Ningyu and Long San, feeling extremely nervous. To the Dark Immortal King, he hoped that both Ningyu and Long San would be heavily injured and both would die in battle. That way he could escape, and he could even think of a way to kill Ning Lu and Lin Lang and reap the rewards. After all, the injuries he had sustained during his battle with Long San had mostly healed. As long as Ningyu died in battle, he would have a way to expel the soul power that Ningyu had left in his heart out of the main city, and thus regain his freedom. Cough, cough. However, the sound of a dry cough shattered the Dark Immortal King's beautiful dream. It was obvious that the dry cough had come from Ningyu. Ningyu crawled out of the crater with great difficulty and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. As expected of the true dragon body, it is indeed very powerful. At this time, Ningyu still felt a lingering fear. Fortunately, he had executed the first transformation of the god of war to the extreme. Chapter 2481. Chapter 2481. Chapter 241. Good stuff. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Ningyu had just climbed out of the pit when Long San's head popped out from afar, his face filled with unwillingness. Long San hadn't expected that his fight with Ningyu this time would end in defeat. One had to know. His cultivation was at the peak of the Mortal King realm, and he had condensed a great Tao. His body was at the early stage of the First Order Quasi-Emperor realm. But under such circumstances, he still lost to Ningyu, and he was utterly defeated. The mountains will never change, and the rivers will always flow. We will meet again. Long San glared at Ningyu, then leaped up and executed a secret technique, wanting to escape. However, how could Ningyu let Long San escape? He had gone through a lot to defeat Long San. If he let Long San go like this, wouldn't it be a waste of effort? Let me. Without waiting for Ningyu to make a move, Lin Lang and Ning Lu immediately leaped up. Both of them had the same thought as Ningyu. The cooked duck must not be let go. Bang! Bang! Ning Lu and Lin Lang didn't hold back. They directly used 100% of their strength. Each of them punched Long San's chest. Long San had already suffered heavy injuries in the fight with Ningyu. Now that he was hit in the chest by Ning Lu and Lin Lang, his aura instantly dropped to the freezing point, and he fell from the void, landing heavily on the ground. Crack! A crisp sound rang out. Several of Long San's ribs broke on the spot. What do you want? I am from the Dragon War Empire. If you kill me, the Dragon War Empire will not spare you. Long Sen knew that he could not escape, so he said fiercely, "My strength can only be ranked last in the Dragon War Empire. To tell you the truth, the Dragon War Empire even has a quasi-emperor. If you kill me, you will definitely be hunted down by the quasi-emperors of the Dragon War Empire." Noisy. Ning, you could not be bothered to talk nonsense with Long San. He took a step forward, and a soul force emerged from his body. You have two choices. First, release your mind and let me control it. Second, die. As the word die resounded, Ningyu's aura suddenly erupted, crazily suppressing Long San. Ningyu's meaning was clear. As Long San made the wrong choice, he would immediately kill him. AI Long San, a good death is better than a bad life. At this moment, the Dark Tower Immortal King flew over and sighed softly. He advised, "Even I have submitted to Ningyu. What's wrong with you submitting to him?" "Pa." Long San spat out a mouthful of saliva and said, "Who do you think you are? If it weren't for you, would I have ended up like this? Moreover, you and I are worlds apart. You can only rank last on the Celestial King leaderboard, while I'm ranked around 70th. A wise man submits to circumstances. The Dark Tower Immortal King's face was dark and gloomy. He said coldly, "I've said it all. If you surrender, you live. If you don't, you die." Humph. Long San snorted coldly. He looked at Ningyu and said, "I can surrender, but before that, I have a small request." "Speak." Ningyu said, "I want a higher position than the Dark Tower Immortal King. In other words, I can be your slave, but the Dark Tower Immortal King must be my slave or subordinate." Long San said coldly, "Shua." Hearing Long San's words, the Dark Tower Immortal King was shocked. He had already thoroughly offended Long San. If Ningyu agreed to Long San's request, wouldn't he be tortured by Long San? "No problem, I agree to your request." Ningyu nodded and said, "But let me say this first. If the two of you dare to cause trouble for me, I will not hesitate to kill you." "Of course." Long San's face lit up with joy. He then completely relaxed. Whoosh! Ningyu controlled a strand of soul power and sent it into Long San's body, where his heart was. Long San was different from the Dark Tower Immortal King. The Dark Tower Immortal King had two hearts. Long San, on the other hand, was very normal. He only had one heart, and Ningyu easily controlled him. It's over. Ningyu's control of Long San caused the Dark Tower Immortal King to grimace. He had wanted to plead with Ningyu for Ningyu to let him control Long San. But now Long San was one step ahead and now had control over him. This made the Dark Tower Immortal King want to cry. "Hand over all the Dao fruits and Quasi-Emperor essence, blood on you." Ningyu did not care about the grudge between Long San and the Dark Tower Immortal King. He threw out an interspatial ring and said, "I do not wish for you to play any tricks. Otherwise, you should know the consequences." "We wouldn't dare." Long San and the Dark Tower Immortal King hurriedly replied. Then they took out all their Dao fruits, Quasi-Emperor blood essence, and even some formed and unformed pills, and stored them in the interspatial ring. After storing them, Long San flicked his wrist and threw the interspatial ring to Ningyu. Pa! Catching the interspatial ring firmly, Ningyu extended his perception into the interspatial ring to inspect it. 2 Dao fruits, 100 drops of rank 1 Quasi-Emperor blood essence, and 30 drops of rank 2 Quasi-Emperor blood essence. Ningyu was quite satisfied. 3 Dao fruits could condense a Dao, but of course most of them could not. After all, a 1 in 100 chance was not something that could be encountered every time. As for the 100 drops of rank 1 Quasi-Emperor blood essence, Ningyu did not keep them. Instead, he threw them to the Dark Emperor and Ninglu. Rank 1 Quasi-Emperor blood essence could strengthen one's body. Ning Yu's body had long reached the level of a peak rank 1 quasi-emperor. Unless he cultivated the war god body to the second transformation, his body could only slowly improve. It was not worth it to use 100 drops of quasi-emperor blood essence to improve his body a little bit. Ning Lu and Lin Lang were different. Even if Ning Lu's main body was the sapling of the world tree, his body had not reached the level of a quasi-emperor. Even Ning Lu had not reached it, not to mention Lin Lang. 3 Dao fruits, Ning Yu wanted to keep them for himself. But on second thought, he threw them to Ning Lu and Lin Lang. Kacha! 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 Catching the Dao fruits, Ning Lu, Lin Lang, and the Dark Emperor immediately threw them into their mouths and started devouring. Drip! Drip! In the blink of an eye, half an hour passed. Regrettably, whether it was Ning Lu, Lin Lang, or the Dark Emperor, of the 3 of them, none succeeded. 3 Dao fruits, not a single Dao appeared. However, although they did not condense a Dao, Ning Lu's cultivation had reached the peak of the intermediate Immortal King realm. Lin Lang and the Dark Emperor had also reached the peak of the early Immortal King realm. They were only half a step away from the intermediate Immortal King realm. While they were devouring the Dao fruits, Ning Yu devoured 10 drops of rank 2 quasi-emperor blood essence. The effects of rank 2 quasi-emperor blood essence were many times better than rank 1 quasi-emperor blood essence. 10 drops of rank 2 quasi-emperor blood essence allowed Ning Yu's cultivation to soar from the intermediate Immortal King realm to the peak of the intermediate Immortal King realm. Let's go all out. Taking a deep breath, Ning Yu swallowed the remaining 20 drops of rank 2 quasi-emperor blood essence in one go. His technique circulated rapidly. Ning Yu controlled the energy in the quasi-emperor blood essence and circulated it in his body. This was a good opportunity to break through. If he missed this opportunity, there would be no more. Chapter 2482. Chapter 2482. Chapter 242 Sparring 20 drops of second-tier quasi-emperor blood essence. Any other cultivator would not have dared to directly devour them. After all, their bodies were far weaker than Ning Yu's, and their speed of refining the quasi-emperor blood essence was not as fast as Ning Yu's. Chi! 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 Under Ning Yu's all-out refinement, the 20 drops of quasi-emperor blood essence only took half an hour to completely transform into energy that accumulated in Ning Yu's sea of consciousness. Break! Another 10 minutes passed. Ning Yu bellowed. Rumble! An extremely terrifying aura emanated from Ning Yu's body and shot into the sky. This is late-stage Immortal King. Sensing the terrifying aura emanating from Ning Yu's body, the Dark Immortal King and Long San exchanged a glance and could see the bitterness in each other's eyes. When Ning Yu was a mid-stage Immortal King, he could easily fight them without being at a disadvantage. Now that he was a late-stage Immortal King, he could easily defeat them if he fought them again. At this thought, the Dark Immortal King and Long San suddenly felt that their battle was somewhat dull. In any case, they were already under Ning Yu's control. What was the point of continuing to fight? Whoosh! Ning Yu did not care what the Dark Immortal King and Long San thought. He slowly exhaled a turbid breath, a slightly excited expression on his face. Late-stage Immortal King. He had finally reached the late-stage Immortal King. Ning Yu's expression was somewhat solemn. Previously, his overall strength could match Long San, who was ranked 70th on the Immortal King ranking. But now, even if he faced a cultivator ranked 50th on the Immortal King ranking, he could easily match or even kill him. Gathering his thoughts, Ning Yu said in a clear voice, "Let's go to the outer region of the Quasi-Emperor Mystic Realm." Whoosh! Ning Yu commanded. The Dark Immortal King and Long San naturally did not dare to hesitate. The 2 of them leaped into the air and opened a path. The outer region of the Quasi-Emperor's secret realm was located within the 18 mountains in the center of the cloud-soaring mountain range. In other words, the 18 mountains in the center of the soaring cloud mountain range could be considered the outer regions of the Quasi-Emperor's secret realm. In order to enter the inner region, he would have to fight his way through the mountain ranges one by one until he reached the depths of the final mountain range. Only then would he be able to break through the formation and enter the core region. The core region of the Quasi-Emperor's secret realm was very different from the outer region. Perhaps there were some Tao fruits in the outer regions, and he might even be able to find the blood essence of a Quasi-Emperor. However, in the core area, there were many Tao fruits and Quasi-Emperor blood essences. In fact, there might even be Emperor blood essences. With Long San and the Dark Tower Immortal King leading the way, Ningyu and the others did not encounter any trouble along the way. It only took them a few hours to cross the 70 mountain ranges in front of the soaring Cloud Mountain Range and arrive in front of the 18 mountain ranges in the central region. At this moment, many experts had already gathered in front of the first mountain range. When everyone saw Long San and Dark Tower Immortal King appear, they only shot a glance at them before retracting their gazes and staring fixedly at the energy barrier in front of the first mountain range. Because Long San and Dark Tower Immortal King were experts from the Dragon War Empire, and the people from the Dragon War Empire had already arrived in this region and occupied an empty space. When they saw Long San and Dark Tower Immortal King appear, a black-robed elder from the Dragon War Empire asked, "Why are you so late?" "We were delayed on the way here," Long San replied indifferently. As Long San spoke, he explained to Ningyu, "His name is Old Freak Tang, and he has a strange and eccentric personality. He is the strongest expert that the Dragon War Empire had sent this time, and he is ranked 50th on the Immortal King ranking list." 50th. Ningyu's expression did not change. With his current strength, he would not be afraid even if he faced Old Freak Tang head-on. Ningyu shifted his gaze and began to look around. There were a total of 10 camps outside the energy barrier. Without a doubt, these 10 camps were occupied by the 7 super empires and 3 super sects of the 100 Forest Weave. "What's wrong?" Suddenly, Ningyu sensed Lin Lang's cold and sinister expression and asked curiously. On the way here, Ningyu had deliberately helped Lin Lang conceal his unique aura. Otherwise, he would most likely be discovered here. After all, even the Dark Tower Immortal King could discover his identity. There were so many more powerful martial artists here, and they would definitely be able to discover that Lin Lang was unusual. Helping Lin Lang conceal his aura was the wisest choice. "I'm fine." Lin Lang took a deep breath and said, "Are you all right?" Ningyu followed Lin Lang's gaze. Not far ahead was the camp of the Holy Ming Empire. The only thing that puzzled Ningyu was that there were only 3 people from the Holy Ming Empire who had come, and these 3 people did not have very high cultivation. The strongest one was only a late-stage Immortal King, and had not even reached the peak of the Immortal King realm. One had to know. Many of the experts from the 10 major forces who had gone to the Quasi-Emperor's secret realm were terrifying existences in the top 100 of the Immortal King ranking list. What was the difference between the Holy Ming Empire sending these people over and sending them to their deaths? "Very well, it seems like you've grown up." Long San, don't think that you can talk to me like this just because you have your big brother and second brother. While Ningyu was still thinking, Old Monster Tang's sinister words rang in his ears. Long San did not back down at all, and said coldly, "Old Monster Tang, who do you think you are? You are only ranked 50th on the Immortal King ranking list at your age, and even I am ranked 70. Aren't you ashamed?" "Why should I be ashamed? I am ranked 50th. Old Monster Tang berated. "Haha, even though you are ranked 50th, it is actually just the Immortal King ranking list of the 8 southern regions." Long San said, disdainfully, If you are really that capable, then go and challenge the Immortal King ranking list of the Immortal Court realm. Let's see what your ranking is. Why would Long San quarrel with old Monster Tang? Who knows, the Dragon War Empire seems to be in the limelight this time. Isn't it? I heard that Mo Shao killed Mo Chong and became a popular candidate to be the crown prince of the Dragon War Empire. The Emperor of the Dragon War Empire has ordered that peak immortal kings will not participate in the battle for the crown prince. But everyone knows that the three dragon brothers support Mo Shao and old Monster Tang supports Mo Chong. Now that Mo Chong has been killed, it would be strange if old Monster Tang is not angry. The discussions of the surrounding people entered Ning Yu's ears. Ning Yu's gaze moved and swept across the surroundings again. After a while, Ning Yu withdrew his gaze. Here, Ning Yu did not see Yang Yiming and Mo Shao. Previously, Ning Yu chose to separate from Yang Yiming and Mo Shao in order to better blend into the soaring cloud mountain range. Now that he did not see Yang Yiming and Mo Shao, it meant that they were not here yet. As for being killed, Ning Yu did not think that way at all, because he had absolute control over Mo Shao. If something happened to Mo Shao, he would be the first to know. You are courting death. After a short quarrel, old Monster Tang roared, and immediately rushed out, clenched his right hand into a fist, and punched at Long San. Do you think I am afraid of you? Long San secretly glanced at Ning Yu, and then also clenched his right hand into a fist and suddenly punched. Without Ning Yu's support, Long San did not dare to fight with old Monster Tang. After all, his ranking on the Immortal King ranking list was 20 places lower than old Monster Tang, and the overall strength difference was huge. Chapter 2483. Seal of the 10 Immortals Boom. Long San and Old Freak Tang's fists collided in an instant. The two fists collided. Both Long San and Old Freak Tang retreated dozens of feet quickly. Old Freak Tang was in a better state. After all, he was ranked around 70th on the 8 southern regions Celestial King list. Long San, on the other hand, was in a much more miserable state. His strength was much weaker than Old Freak Tang's. His fist was instantly smashed into a bloody mess. Close. However, Long San was a peak Celestial King expert. The shattering of his fist did not affect him much. In just 1 second, his broken fist was restored to its original state. Humph! You can't even withstand a single blow. Old Freak Tang snorted, curled his lips, and said proudly, I can suppress a piece of trash like you with one hand. If it weren't for the fact that we both serve the Dragon War Empire, I could have killed you with that blow just now. Long San's face was livid. He was a peerless expert, ranked around 70th on the Celestial King list. Now that he was mocked by Old Freak Tang in front of so many people, he felt a little embarrassed. What about you? A piece of trash is a piece of trash. Old Freak Tang shrugged his shoulders and said, If you're not convinced, you can come and fight with me at any time. Master, I hope you can avenge me. Long San took a deep breath and secretly sent a voice transmission to Ning Yu. Long San had been thinking that Ning Yu would help him when he sparred with Old Freak Tang. Killing with a borrowed knife, Ning Yu was very powerful, especially after he reached the late stage Celestial King. His strength had soared rapidly. In this case, with Ning Yu's help, he might be able to kill Old Freak Tang easily. You ask for trouble, so solve it yourself. Ning Yu's expression was calm, without any joy or anger. In fact, from the moment Long San made his move, Ning Yu knew what Long San was thinking. Long San should feel lucky. If there were not many experts here, Ning Yu would probably let him know what cruelty was. He had always been the one scheming against others. Now, someone else was scheming against him, and it was someone under his control. How could Ning Yu be happy? This is bad. Long Sen wasn't stupid. Seeing Ning Yu's expressionless face, he instantly realized that something was wrong. His original intention was to kill with a borrowed knife, but now it seemed that he had gone too far. "Master, I didn't mean it. Please forgive me," Long San hurriedly explained. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, the void split open, and two figures flew out from the void. Big brother, second brother? Seeing the sudden appearance of the two martial artists, Long San was overjoyed. Long Da was ranked 55th on the Celestial King ranking board, while Long Air was ranked 65th. He might not be able to compete with Tang Wulin. However, if the three of them joined forces and used their true dragon bodies, they might be able to defeat Tang Wulin. Third brother, what happened? Long Da and Long Air's bodies were relatively large. They were 3 meters tall and 2 meters wide. As soon as they landed, they discovered some clues. Long San's aura was dispirited, as if he had just experienced a great battle. "It's all Tang Wulin's fault." Long San pointed at Tang Wulin and said fiercely, "He insisted on sparring with me. I wasn't willing, so he forcefully attacked me." The martial artists of the other forces were speechless when they heard Long San distorting the truth. It was clearly a voluntary sparring, but when it came to Long San, it was Tang Wulin who forced him. However, now that the three Long brothers were present, no one wanted to expose it, lest they offended the three Long brothers. "How dare you?" Long Da's face turned cold, and he said coldly, "Tang Wulin, I'll give you a chance to live. Kneel down and count out to my third brother to admit your mistake. Otherwise, I'll make you die a horrible death." "You want me to kneel?" Tang Wulin had a fiery temper. He said fiercely, "The three of you can't do that." "Is that so?" Long Air's lips curled up, and he said calmly, "I forgot to tell you, the reason why Big Brother and I came late is that we went to challenge the top 50 on the Celestial King ranking board, Ghost Blade Mad Demon, and Sword Extermination Supremacy." Swoosh! As soon as Long Air said that, the crowd was in an uproar. The Ghost Blade Mad Demon was ranked 49th on the 8 Southern Regions Celestial King ranking board. Sword Extermination was ranked 48th on the 8 Southern Regions Celestial King ranking board. Long Da and Long Air had gone to challenge them, and they came back unscathed. Didn't that mean they succeeded? So what? Tang Wulin was a little afraid, but he did not care on the surface. He said, "I can defeat those two pieces of trash easily, but I don't have the time." "Are you sure you can defeat the Ghost Blade Mad Demon and Sword Extermination Supremacy easily?" Long Air said with a faint smile, "Of course." At this time, Tang Wulin naturally would not admit defeat. "Good. I'd like to see how you can defeat them." As soon as he finished speaking, Long Air clapped his hands. Clap! In an instant, the void cracked, and two more martial artists appeared in front of the crowd. One carried a long sword on his back, and the other held a giant saber in his hand. Obviously, they were the Ghost Blade Mad Demon and Sword Extermination Supremacy. Why are they here? Could it be that Long Da and Long Air paid a lot of money to invite them here? Of course. Long Da and Long Air fought with them and defeated them in the end. So, they asked them to do 3 things for them. Tisk! Instantly the crowd booed. How could peerless powerhouses like the Ghost Blade Mad Demon and Sword Extermination Supremacy agree to do things for others? Unless someone suppressed them with absolute strength. Kill. Go to hell. The Ghost Blade Mad Demon and Sword Extermination Supremacy did not stay idle. As soon as they appeared, they attacked Tang Wulin from the left and right. Damn it! The sudden change made Tang Wulin turn pale. He hurried to defend himself. Bang, bang, bang. However, Tang Wulin had just fought with Long San, and the energy waves in his body had not recovered to their peak state. Naturally, he was at an absolute disadvantage when fighting against the peerless powerhouses ranked 48th and 49th on the Celestial King list. Even after a few moves, Tang Wulin was sent flying, spitting up blood. After defeating Tang Wulin, the Ghost, Blade, Mad Demon, and Sword Extermination Supremacy took back their magic treasures and stood behind Long Da and Long Air. Interesting. Ning Yu had been paying attention to their fight. When the Ghost, Blade, Mad Demon, and Sword Extermination Supremacy stopped attacking, Ning Yu found some clues. There was a special seal inside the bodies of the Ghost, Blade, Mad Demon, and Sword Extermination Supremacy. The seal of the 10 Immortals. The reason why Long Da and Long Air could order the Ghost, Blade, Mad Demon, and the others to attack was that they had the seal of the 10 Immortals in their bodies. If Ning Yu's guess was right, Long Da and Long Air must have the token of the 10 Immortals, because only the token of the 10 Immortals could perfectly control people who had been sealed by the seal of the 10 Immortals. Ning Yu transmitted a few words to Long San, asking him to find a way to get the token of the 10 Immortals. Chapter 2484. Whoosh! Long Da and Long Air did not suspect Long San's ill intentions. With a flick of their wrists, 2 golden tokens appeared in their hands. The 10 Immortals' tokens! Without a doubt, the golden tokens that Long Da and Long Air took out were the 10 Immortals' tokens. With the 10 Immortals' tokens, Long Da and Long Air could command Ghost Blade Demon and Sword Destroyer Supremacy. "Let me see," Long San said hurriedly, his eyes glowing. "Haha, what's the hurry? Here you go." Long Da smiled and threw the 10 Immortals' token to Long San. "Pa!" Long San's eyes were sharp, and he steadily caught the 10 Immortals' token. Flipping it up and down for a while, Long San once again said, "Second brother, compared to Big Brother's token, isn't it a bit different? They're the same, just that one has the blood essence of Ghost Blade Demon, and the other has the blood essence of Sword Destroyer Supremacy." Long Air did not suspect anything and threw the token to Long San. "Pa!" Long San stretched out his hand again and caught the token firmly. "Tell, there's no need. Return the token." Ning Yu wanted Long San to take the 10 Immortals' token back, but on second thought, he felt that it was inappropriate. After all, with Long Da and Long Air's abilities, they could not have planted the 10 Immortals' seal on Ghost Blade Demon and the others. It was obvious. Behind Long Da and Long Air was a supreme expert who knew about the 10 Immortals' seal. Just now, when Ning Yu was communicating with Long San, he felt a weak aura land on him. Although the aura was extremely weak, Ning Yu's keen senses still detected it. It should be a rank 1 quasi-emperor. Ning Yu's expression was solemn. He had to change his strategy. With his current strength, he could only fight the top 50 experts on the 8 southern regions' Immortal King ranking. If he faced a true rank 1 quasi-emperor, he probably would not even know how he died. Therefore, it was not suitable to expose himself for now. He would wait until he entered the outer region of the quasi-emperor mystic realm. "Old Freak Tang, you have 2 choices now." Long San returned the 10 Immortals token and turned to look at the heavily injured Old Freak Tang. 1. Submit to me. 2. Die. Puchi. Old Freak Tang was so furious that he spat out a mouthful of blood. A wise man submits to circumstances. Old Freak Tang rolled his eyes. He decided to pretend to be a snake and rely on Long San. Once they entered the outer region of the quasi-emperor mystic realm, or rather the core region, they would think of a way to leave. "I choose to submit," Old Freak Tang said, hiding the anger in his eyes. "Very good. Now relax your mind." Long San took a step forward, and a strand of soul force emerged from his body. Xiao! The soul energy moved very quickly, arriving before Old Freak Tang in the blink of an eye. Then it entered Old Freak Tang's body right before Old Freak Tang's eyes. A part of this soul force belonged to Long San, and the other part belonged to Ningyu. It was obvious. Letting Long San control Old Freak Tang was Ningyu's idea. Because in this way, Ningyu could indirectly control Old Freak Tang, and thus control this peerless expert, whose strength was on par with his. Third brother, can you introduce these people? After Long San controlled Old Freak Tang, Longda shifted his gaze to Ningyu, Lin Lang, and the others. Okay. Long San nodded and said, "These are my friends I met on the way. Let me keep you in suspense. When we enter the core region of the Quasi-Emperor Mystic Realm, I will naturally tell Big Brother and Second Brother who they are." Oh. Longda raised his eyebrows, staring at Ningyu and the others with interest. In fact, it was no wonder that Longda was interested. The Quasi-Emperor Mystic Realm was divided into the outer region and the core region. Generally speaking, if one's cultivation had not reached the peak Immortal King realm, it was basically impossible to enter the core region of the Quasi-Emperor Mystic Realm. Now that Long San was so optimistic about Ningyu, Lin Lang, and the others, Longda felt a little strange. However, Longda did not think too much about it. The three brothers had a very good relationship in the Long Zhan Empire, and they had been through life and death together. He did not believe that Long San would betray him, nor would he think in that direction. Crack! At this moment, the energy barrier outside the first mountain emitted a subtle cracking sound. Crack! 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 The cracking sound did not stop. If this trend continued, it would not be long before the energy barrier completely cracked. The conflict between Long San and Old Freak Tang came to an end at this moment. The experts of the other 9 forces all focused their attention on the energy barrier, and no one was in the mood to see how the conflict within the Long Zhan Empire would develop. To them, the most important thing was to wait for the energy barrier to completely shatter and then rush into the first mountain. Entering earlier meant that there was a high chance that they would be able to enter the core region earlier. Although the outer region was good, there were not many great Dao fruits and Quasi-Emperor blood essences inside. Perhaps the intermediate and early stage Immortal Kings would care a little, but the true peak Immortal Kings, the top 100 supreme martial artists on the 8 southern regions ranking of Immortal Kings, all set their sights on the core region. Break! After a while, no one knew who shouted, but in an instant, several figures swept over. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh! The first batch of people who passed through the energy barrier were the early stage Immortal Kings and the mid-stage Immortal Kings. Although those peak Immortal Kings had set their sights on the core region, they were not fools. They would first let the weak explore the way, and only when they were sure that there was no great danger would they enter. Otherwise, wouldn't they be very depressed if they encountered danger? They disappeared. Like these peak Immortal Kings, Ningyu stared at the first batch of martial artists who passed through the energy barrier. He was surprised to find that these martial artists had just passed through the energy barrier and then disappeared without a trace. They must have entered the illusion, Ning Lu said in a low voice. The 18 outer mountain ranges of the Quasi-Emperor Secret Realm are all illusions. If you want to enter the second mountain range, you must see through the illusion. I see. Ningyu frowned. Crack! As if to confirm Ning Lu's guess. Soon, some martial artists broke through the illusion and rushed toward the second mountain range. Seeing this, the surrounding peak Immortal Kings finally stopped. Whoosh! They rushed toward the first mountain range, one after another. Third brother, let's go. Seeing everyone rushing toward the mountain range, Longda said hurriedly, with the strength of US 3 brothers, we should be able to break into the core region soon. Big brother, don't be impatient. Long Sen shook his head, and then shifted his gaze to Ningyu. Huh. Long San's action made Longda and Long Air a little puzzled. Why was Long San looking at Ningyu? Could it be that Ningyu had some special ability? Facing Longda and Long Air's puzzled look, Ningyu was not afraid at all. He sorted out his thoughts and said Ning Lu's guess, The 18 outer mountain ranges of the Quasi-Emperor secret realm are all illusions. Only by seeing through the illusion can we enter the second mountain range. The first few illusions may be very weak, and we can break through very quickly. But the further we go, the more difficult it will be to break through the illusion. So I suggest that we be the last batch to enter, so that others won't take advantage of us. While speaking, Ningyu glanced to the other side. There. Chapter 2485. Chapter 2485. Chapter 2485. Lin Tai, waiting to reap the benefits. Hearing Ningyu's words, Long frowned slightly, revealing a thoughtful expression. The three martial artists sent by the Xingming Empire were indeed a little strange. The strongest one was only a late-stage immortal king. He probably couldn't even reach the core area of the Quasi-Emperor secret realm. One had to know. The old ancestor of the Xingming Empire had been seriously injured and urgently needed the Emperor's spiritual liquid to heal. Without the Emperor's spiritual liquid, the Xingming Empire would immediately collapse and be devoured by the other 9 forces. Thinking of this, Long Da's mind moved, and he slightly released his perception and began to contact the hidden martial artists. There really is someone hiding in the void. Ningyu secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, he didn't attack Long Da and Long Air. Otherwise, the peerless expert hidden in the void would definitely kill him. Judging from the current situation, enduring for the time being was the best solution. After communicating with the martial artists in the void for a while, Long Da took a deep breath and said, "Let's go in first. Someone will naturally stop those trash from the Xingming Empire." While speaking, Long Da moved and directly crossed the energy barrier, intending to enter the first mountain range to try the illusion. Wait. However, before Long Da entered the first mountain range, the late-stage immortal king from the Xingming Empire said coldly, "How disrespectful. A mere Longzhan Empire wants to ride on top of the Xingming Empire?" Hearing this, Long Da stopped and looked back at the late-stage immortal king. "Do you know who you're talking to?" "I think I do." The late-stage immortal king from the Xingming Empire didn't back down and scolded. "Others might be afraid of you, 3 Long brothers, but I, Linyu, am not." "Humph." Long Da snorted and immediately ordered, "Ghost Blade Mad Demon, go kill him and turn him into a fish." Yes, the Ghost Blade Mad Demon took out his broadsword and suddenly leaped up, charging at Linyu. Chi-chi. The Ghost Blade Mad Demon's speed was very fast, creating a sizzling sound as he rubbed against the void. Almost in the blink of an eye, the Ghost Blade Mad Demon arrived in front of Linyu and slashed the broadsword in his hand at Linyu's neck. This slash, it was extremely powerful. If Linyu was unlucky enough to be hit in the head, his head would probably be broken on the spot. Bang! At the critical moment, Linyu was still standing in the same place, but the void beside him suddenly split open. A huge palm appeared and slapped the Ghost Blade Mad Demon's blade. "Kacha!" Along with a clear and melodious sound rang out. The Ghost Blade Mad Demon's broadsword cracked on the spot. "My saber!" the Ghost Blade Mad Demon shouted. His blade was a treasure that he had refined for many years. As long as the saber existed, the man existed. If the saber died, the man would die. "I'll cripple you." The look in Ghost Blade Mad Demon's eyes became extremely fierce. He poured all the energy in his body into his fist and punched the giant palm that was coming out of the void. Kacha! The result was obvious. The Ghost Blade Mad Demon's strength was not too strong. He was only in the top 50 of the 8 southern regions' Immortal King ranking. On the other hand, the giant palm that was fighting him could squeeze into the top 40 of the 8 southern regions' Celestial King ranking with just one palm. The palm first shattered the Devil Blade Mad Demon's fist, and then, under the Devil Blade Mad Demon's horrified gaze, it bombarded his head. Kaboom! In an instant, the ghost blade mad demon's head exploded. At this moment, the terrifying ghost blade mad demon died a horrible death. Hiss! Seeing the miserable state of the ghost blade mad demon, Longda and Long Air could not help but gasp. Even Ningyu, Ninglu, and the others couldn't help but have solemn expressions. Whoosh! After killing the ghost blade mad demon with one move, the void suddenly split open, and the owner of the palm appeared in front of everyone. Lin Tai! Lin Lang clenched his fists and gritted his teeth when he saw the martial artist that suddenly appeared. You know him? Ningyu's ears twitched, and he couldn't help but ask. Yes, even if he turns into ashes, I'll still know him. Lin Lang took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. He said, I have an irreconcilable grudge against him. I understand. Ningyu patted Lin Lang's shoulder and comforted him. In fact, Lin Lang's current overall strength could barely squeeze into the top 100 of the 8 southern regions, Celestial King ranking after reaching the early stage of the Immortal King realm. However, with his strength, wanting to kill Lin Tai was no different from a fool's dream. Lin Tai was able to squeeze into the top 40 of the 8 southern regions, Celestial King ranking with just one palm. If Lin Lang wanted to kill him, he would probably have to cultivate for many years. Whoosh! 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 Lin Tai's appearance made Long Da and Long Air feel like they were facing a formidable enemy. The next moment, Long Da, Long Air, and Venerable Sword Exterminator suddenly dashed out and surrounded Lin Tai from 3 directions. On the 8 southern regions, Celestial King ranking, Lin Tai could be ranked in the top 30. Every single one of the top 30 experts was a freak. Kill. Lin Tai didn't waste time talking to Long Da and the others. He growled and his palm grew larger again, slapping toward Long Da and the others. Dragon conquering the world. Dragon soars to the 9 heavens. Exterminating sword slash. Long Da and the others didn't dare to be careless. Each of them displayed their trump cards. Among them, Long Da and Long Air used their Monarch ranked battle skills, while Venerable Sword Exterminator used his famous skill. However, the outcome was far from what they had expected. A single move. Lin Tai had only used a single move to send Long Da and Long Air flying. They spat out mouthfuls of blood, and their auras were extremely weak. Your strength. Long Da wiped the blood from the corner of his lips. His face was filled with terror. Even if Lin Tai was ranked in the top 30 of the Immortal King ranking, it was impossible for him, Venerable Sword Exterminator, and the others to fail to withstand a single move. There was only one explanation for this. Lin Tai's strength had already entered the top 20 of the 8 southern regions, Celestial King ranking. I'm very sorry. I've had some initial success in my cultivation recently. Not long ago, I defeated Old Man Kuyun, who's ranked in the top 20. Lin Tai shrugged and said calmly, As for how long we fought, it should be 3 seconds. Bang! Lin Tai's words were akin to being struck by lightning, causing Long Da's heart to sink to rock bottom, defeating Old Man Kuyun in 3 seconds. Didn't that mean that Lin Tai's overall strength had probably reached the top 10 of the Immortal King ranking? What do you want? Long Da forced himself to calm down and said in a deep voice, Don't think that the Long Zhan Empire is a pushover. To be honest, if you dare to kill us today, the Long Zhan Empire will immediately wage war against the sagely Ming Empire. Hee, that's exactly what I wanted. Lin Tai smiled and said, Even if your Long Zhan Empire doesn't attack the sagely Ming Empire, I'll still take some measures to force you to attack. Clap, clap, clap. Following that, Lin Tai clapped his hands and said loudly, Come out. Show Long Da what true strength is. Swish, swish, swish. Chapter 2486. Chapter 2486. Chapter 2486, a little confused. This is seeing the 6 cultivators suddenly appear. Long Da's mouth gaped open as he stood rooted to the ground. He knew these 6 martial artists, or rather, he had seen all of them before. He was a peerless expert ranked 10th to 20th on the 8 southern regions' Immortal King ranking. Aside from Lin Hai, who was from the Holy Radiant Empire, the rest were all outsiders from the 100 Forest Weave. They came from the other 7 territories of the 8 southern regions. Could it be that Lin Tai had invited all of these people to surround and kill the experts from the 9 great powers of the 100 Forest Weave? Long Da raised his head and glanced at the rift. The speculation in his heart grew stronger. This was because the Dragon War Empire's rank 1 quasi-emperor he had brought along was currently being surrounded by 4 other rank 1 quasi-emperors. In the surroundings, there were 5 first-tier quasi-emperors eyeing him covetously. Taking a deep breath, Long Da said solemnly, "Lin Tai, we can talk things out. There is no need to fight to the death." "Really?" The corners of Lin Tai's lips curled up into an arc as he said, "I have a special trait, and that is that I'm especially soft-hearted. If you kneel down and kowtow to me a few times, perhaps my heart will soften, and I will consider letting you go." "Kowtow to you?" Long Da's face was gloomy. No one knew what he was thinking. "A warrior prefers death to humiliation." Venerable Sword Extermination said coldly, "Pucci." Just as he finished speaking, a sharp-tongued cultivator beside Lin Tai suddenly made his move and chopped off his head. "Don't mind it, it's just a small episode." Lin Tai smiled and continued, "Dragon University, you only have 1 chance. I hope you can think about it carefully. If you miss this opportunity, you won't get another one. Oh, right, my patience is limited. I hope you can answer me quickly." "All right, I'll kneel." Long Da was a man who knew when to yield and when to stand tall. He gritted his teeth, bent his legs, and was about to kneel. "Let's go." Seeing Long Da's actions, Ning Yu's pupils constricted. He immediately pulled Lin Lang and Ning Lu toward the first mountain range. Rumble. Just as Ning Yu arrived in front of the first mountain range, Long Da took out a talisman from his bosom and threw it out. The talisman suddenly exploded. A terrifying shockwave enveloped Lin Tai and the 6 peerless experts beside him, attempting to trap all of them inside. "Second brother, third brother, let's go." Long Da grabbed the opportunity and grabbed Long Air and Long San's shoulders. At the same time, he kicked Old Freak Tang and Dark Sky Immortal King's buttocks with his right leg. He rushed towards the first mountain range, hoping to enter the illusion realm as soon as possible. This was because the things that everyone faced after entering the illusion were different. Therefore, Long Da felt that as long as he entered the illusion realm, he would be safe. Charge! Kill them all! Lin Tai was flustered and exasperated. No need. However, just as the other 6 peerless powerhouses were about to attack, they were stopped by a soft voice in the air. Bang! Immediately after, a corpse flew out of the void and landed heavily on the ground. Rank 1 Quasi-Emperor. This corpse was a rank 1 Quasi-Emperor when he was alive. Clearly, this Quasi-Emperor was the Quasi-Emperor of the Dragon War Empire, and Long Da and Long Air were relying on him. There's no harm in letting them in. We'll wait at the entrance of the core area first. When they come out, we'll catch them all in one fell swoop. Not long after the indifferent voice sounded, the 9 great quasi-emperor powerhouses in the void tore open the void and entered. Humph! They're lucky. Lin Tai snorted coldly, then tore open the void and entered as well. If Ningyu and the others were still here, they would definitely be very shocked. There was no other reason. The people of the Holy Ming Empire did not need to pass through the outer area of the Quasi-Emperor's secret realm and could directly reach the entrance of the core area. Of course, even if they knew, there was nothing they could do. The Holy Ming Empire could only achieve this by gathering 9 great Quasi-Emperors and 7 peerless powerhouses in the top 20 of the immortal king ranking. Even if Ningyu and the others knew the method, they could not do it. At the same time, in the first mountain range, Ningyu and Linlang had already entered the illusion realm. They were very lucky. Ningyu, Linlang, and Ninglu were all in the same illusion realm. The illusion realm they were in was somewhat special. The surroundings were as empty as the wilderness. Not to mention people. There was not even a feather. How do I break this illusion realm? Ning Lu used his hand to touch the surroundings and discovered that there was a barrier around him. A soul force barrier. There was a soul force barrier in all directions. Do I have to break through the soul force barrier? The soul force in Lin Lang's body surged, wanting to break through the barrier. Don't! Ning Yu hurriedly called out to Lin Lang. Being stopped by Ning Yu, Lin Lang was a little puzzled and asked, "Why did you stop me? Shouldn't I try?" "Let me do it." Ning Yu carefully separated a wisp of soul force and approached the soul force barrier. Chi-chi. However, when Ning Yu's soul force approached the soul force barrier, it was completely devoured by a terrifying devouring power. My soul force. Lin Lang could not help but curse. Fortunately, he did not touch the soul force barrier. Otherwise, his soul force would also be devoured. I can touch it with my hands, but not my soul force. Ningyu tested it a few times and finally confirmed one thing. The soul force barrier could be touched and squeezed by any part of the body, including immortal energy. Only soul force could not. Moreover, as long as the soul force approached the barrier, it would be devoured. What do we do? Lin Lang asked. Soul force could not get close, but other things could not get close either, because other than soul force, immortal energy and body could only squeeze the barrier and not weaken it. Although Ningyu had used some soul force just now, that part of the barrier had weakened by a lot. This meant that as long as he continuously used his soul force, he would be able to cancel out the barrier and break it. Don't be anxious, let me think of a way. Ningyu propped his chin with both of his hands and quickly thought of a solution. Using soul force to weaken the barrier was obviously an impractical method. Ningyu was very clear that even if the three of them used up all their soul force, the barrier would definitely not be broken. Firstly, this was an illusion realm. Everything that happened could be fake. Secondly, the soul force that was consumed just now, Ningyu realized that it seemed to have some connection with him. The soul force barrier should have a weakest point. Ningyu stated his judgment. As long as he found the weakest point and used his soul force to attack it, he would be able to break the barrier. Otherwise, everything would be futile. Next, Ningyu and Lin Lang activated their soul force and began to search for the weak point of the barrier. Found it! Not long after, Lin Lang shouted, "The weak point is here!" Ningyu looked towards the direction of Lin Lang's finger. He saw that towards the west, there was indeed a weak point of soul force. The only thing that made him suspicious was that this weak point seemed to be a small whirlpool. "Get out of the way, let me try." Ningyu gathered his soul force on his fist and punched towards the whirlpool. Xiao xiao xiao. Before Ningyu's fist could even land on the whirlpool, countless soul force surged towards him from all directions. What happened? Chapter 2487. Enemies on a narrow road. Retreat quickly. Suddenly, Ningyu's expression changed, immediately pulling Lin Lang and Ninglu, retreating rapidly. Ka. Ningyu and the rest had just left the place. The soul power barrier around them suddenly split open, and countless terrifying soul powers surged towards them. Block. At the critical moment, the energy within Ningyu's body emitted out, forming a small energy barrier around him. Chi. Ning Lu and Lin Lang did not stay idle. They similarly injected energy into the energy barrier, helping to resist the soul forces surging in from all directions. However, Even though Ningyu and the rest were doing their best to maintain the energy barrier, the situation was still not optimistic. Following this trend, at most 3 minutes, the energy barrier would completely shatter. We must think of a way. Ning Lu's expression was solemn, saying solemnly, "Let me go and try these soul forces. See if I can find a way to break it." Lin Lang revealed a determined look. What happened now made him feel a little guilty towards Ningyu and Ning Lu. After all, if he did not insist on coming, Ningyu might not have accompanied him to such a dangerous place. "Let me do it." Ningyu took a deep breath. His body emitted a soul force, leaving the energy barrier, coming in contact with the outside soul force. Hiss! Just as the soul force came in contact, Ningyu sucked in a breath of cold air. Following that, he saw that the soul force that Ningyu released actually fused with the surrounding soul forces. That's right, it was a fusion. The soul force fusion made Ningyu a little surprised. He originally thought that his soul force would be swallowed and slowly nibbled away. Who would have thought that there would be a fusion? One must know. Once it could be fused, it meant that he went from being passive to being active. As long as he could fuse all the surrounding soul forces into his own soul force, then these soul forces would become his own. To put it simply, when the situation turned for the better, not only could he break the illusion, but he could also strengthen his soul force. However, Ningyu didn't let Ning Lu and Lin Lang try. After all, this was only a guess of his, and it had not been confirmed yet. If Ning Lu and Lin Lang met with danger, wouldn't he be very embarrassed? Swish, swish, swish. Ningyu was not an indecisive person. If he said he would do it, he would do it. The soul power in his body flew out and left the energy barrier, trying to make contact with the soul power in the outside world. Boom! He seemed to have sensed Ningyu's movements. The soul power of the entire region was crazily attacking Ningyu. Stabilize the energy shield. Ningyu shouted in a low voice. He immediately withdrew his energy and jumped into the soul force sea. At this moment, the soul force in the outside world seemed to have found a backbone as it surged and frantically drilled into Ningyu's body. As for Ningyu, he unleashed his devouring power to the extreme. He didn't care about the consequences and just wanted to devour these soul powers. He would first devour the soul powers and then slowly refine them in the future. Such a good thing. If he missed this opportunity, there wouldn't be another one. Will there be an accident? Within the energy shield, Lin Lang hesitated. It would be fine if Ningyu succeeded, but if he failed, the consequences would be unimaginable. There shouldn't be a problem. Ning Lu said in a low voice. Ning Lu knew Ningyu better than anyone else. Among the few brothers, Dark Emperor and Red Devil, even he would do things that he wasn't confident in. But Ningyu was different. Since Ningyu wanted to do it, it meant that the success rate would not be lower than 50%. This success rate in the current situation was totally worth a try. Drip, drip. Time passed minute by minute. The facts proved. Lin Lang's worries were completely unnecessary. At first, Ningyu might be in some danger. But as time passed, the speed at which Ningyu devoured and fused the soul powers became faster and faster, and it was fast to a terrifying extent. The soul powers in the entire area were completely devoured by Ningyu in just a short few minutes. Phew! After devouring the soul powers, Ningyu heaved a sigh of relief, and his brows revealed some excitement. Awesome! At this moment, Ningyu only had one thought in his heart, and that was awesome. After devouring so much soul powers, although his cultivation did not increase and his physique did not become stronger, his entire mental state had a qualitative improvement. This kind of improvement was an all-round improvement, and there was an indescribable feeling of satisfaction. This is, seeing Ningyu's change, Lin Lang's mouth opened slightly, his face full of surprise. Dao Domain Realm. There were a total of 3 minor realms, above Peak Immortal King. Dao Domain Realm, Dao Advent Realm, Heaven Receiving Realm. The mental state that Ningyu displayed now had already vaguely reached the Tao domain realm. In other words, Ningyu had condensed the great Tao. His physical body reached peak rank 1 quasi-emperor, and his soul powers reached the state of Tao domain realm, the strongest below Tao domain. It was not an exaggeration to say, unless he encountered a true Tao domain realm expert. Otherwise, Ningyu was the strongest, and in the 8 southern regions, only the top 10 peerless experts on the Immortal King ranking had barely reached the Tao domain realm. Crack! Just as Lin Lang was in shock, the illusion of the first mountain range was completely broken. Swoosh! A cold light flashed. Ningyu, Lin Lang, and the rest only felt their vision go black, and then they appeared in the illusion of the second mountain range. There's someone. Having just entered the illusion, before Ningyu and the rest had time to observe the surroundings, they discovered that right in front of them, there were 3 martial artists looking at them. Very unlucky. These 3 martial artists were no strangers. The 3 Dragon Brothers. As for the Dragon War Empire's old Freak Tang and the Dark Tower Immortal King, they had long disappeared. Clearly, they had encountered misfortune in the illusion of the first mountain range. "It's you guys." Seeing Ningyu, Long San's heart trembled. What he feared had really come true. He originally thought that Ningyu would die in the illusion of the first mountain range. Who would have thought that he would actually encounter him here? "You're the one who controlled Third Brother?" Longda took a step forward, staring at Ningyu, and said coldly, "I'll give you a chance to live now. Release your control over Third Brother, or this day next year will be the anniversary of your death." In the first illusion, Long San had revealed the truth that he was controlled. Longda and Long Air were naturally furious. Now that they saw Ningyu, they directly exploded and began to threaten Ningyu. "Hee, are you sure you want to speak to me in such a tone?" Ningyu crossed his arms in front of his chest and said with a smile, "Since you already know that Long San is under my control, I'll make it clear to you, if you too are willing to let go of your thoughts and let me control you, I'll spare your worthless lives." Ning, you had always been nice to people who spoke in a friendly tone. However, when it came to arrogant people like Longda, Ningyu's attitude had always been not too good. What? Longda's eyes were filled with disbelief. He did not expect Ningyu to be so arrogant. This was intolerable. "Die!" He let out a low roar. Chapter 2488. Chapter 2488. Chapter 2488 Treasure Deposit. Pucci. However, before Longda could even get close to Ningyu, Longsen felt a sweetness in his throat and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Shwa! The sudden change caused Longda to stop, floating in the air. "You're courting death." Longda first looked at Long San, then looked coldly at Ningyu and said coldly, "If you know what's good for you, quickly." Pucci. Before Long Da's words had even finished, Long San, who was beside him, spat out another mouthful of blood. "Ka ka ka." Seeing this, Longda clenched his fists tightly, making cracking sounds. The situation was very clear. If he dared to attack Ningyu, Ningyu would trigger the soul power in Long San's body, making Long San wish he was dead. "You dare to do this? You don't dare to fight me fair and square." Longda said fiercely. His anger reached the limit. Not only was he angry, Longda was also very sullen. He thought that his strength was much stronger than Ningyu, but he was afraid that Ningyu would kill Long San. This kind of situation made him extremely sullen. "Want to fight me?" Ningyu looked at Longda with interest and said, "With your current strength, you are not qualified." "Not qualified? That will only be known after a fight," Longda said sternly. "All right, I'll give you a chance to fight me fairly." Ningyu nodded and said, "But before the fight, I need something." "What?" Long Da asked doubtfully, not knowing what medicine Ningyu was selling. Actually, it's not anything important. It's just that I need the gourd on your waist, Ningyu said indifferently. When he first saw Long Da, Ningyu noticed the gourd on his waist. After going through the illusion of the first mountain range, Ningyu roughly understood some things. The Quasi-Emperor mystic realm's 18 mountain ranges were not only 18 illusionary realms, but also 18 treasure vaults. The treasure they encountered in the illusion of the first mountain range was a sea of soul power. Relying on the soul power, he raised the strength of his soul power to the Tao domain realm. And the treasure that Long Da and the others found in the illusion of the first mountain was obviously the gourd on his waist. Inside the gourd was none other than the fruit of Tao, 100 Tao fruits. Dream on. How could first dragon hand over the gourd to Ningyu? He said coldly, change the condition, this, poo-pee-oo-pee-oo. Ning, you didn't feel like talking nonsense with Long Da. He once again activated Long San's soul power. The immense pain caused Long San to vomit several mouthfuls of blood. His face turned extremely pale. All right. Long Da gritted his teeth and said, I promise you that I will give you the Tao fruit, but I hope you will keep your word. Whoosh! During the conversation, Long Da took the gourd and threw it to Ningyu. Pa! Catching the gourd, Ningyu released his perception and probed it a little. Then he revealed a satisfied expression, who said that Long Da had left a soul mark on the gourd. But with the strength of his current soul power, breaking the mark was as simple as taking something out of his pocket. However, Ningyu did not break the mark immediately. Instead, he put the gourd into the red demon's sword, looked at Long Da and said, Since you have satisfied my condition, then I will give you a chance to break the mark and fight. I will guarantee that I will not use Long San to threaten you during our fight. To Ningyu, he talked so much nonsense with Long San because he was afraid that Long San would destroy the great fruit of Tao in the gourd. After all, the 3 Long brothers added together were not as important as 100 Tao fruits. If it was just an ordinary Tao fruit, Ningyu might not care so much. After all, 100 Tao fruits might not necessarily produce 1 Tao. However, the Tao fruit in the gourd at Long Da's waist was extraordinary. Inside, Ningyu even sensed a terrifying aura. This meant that among the 100 Tao fruits in the gourd, there was a high possibility that a peerless Tao ranked in the top 1,000 would appear. 3,000 great Taos, tens of thousands of minor Taos. Only by condensing one of the 3,000 great Taos, the strength of one's physical body reached the Quasi-Emperor realm, and the strength of one's soul reached the Quasi-Emperor realm. Could one officially break through to rank 1 Quasi-Emperor? The strength of a Quasi-Emperor was not only related to rank 1 or rank 2 cultivation, but also the strength of the great Tao condensed. Condensing a great Tao ranked at the bottom and condensing a great Tao ranked at the top. Even if their cultivation was the same, they would still be at an absolute disadvantage. Swoosh! Just as Ningyu was thinking, Long Da rose from the ground and charged at him again. Ah! Ningyu collected his thoughts, and his soul power suddenly surged out, suppressing Long Da boom. As the soul power surged, Long Da's mind trembled, and he was momentarily absent-minded. Bang! It was this gap. Ningyu's right hand clenched into a fist, and it landed on Long Da's chest with no way to avoid. The huge force directly sent Long Da flying out, and he came into close contact with the ground. Crack! A crisp sound rang out. Many of Long Da's ribs broke on the spot. Uft! Dark red blood spurted out. Long Da's face was cold to the extreme. Never had he imagined that he would actually be unable to resist even a single move from Ningyu. He was a peerless expert in the top 50 of the 8 southern regions' Immortal King ranking. Even if he was facing a martial artist ranked at around 30 seconds, he could still last a few moves. Could it be? Ningyu's strength was already comparable to Shengming Empire's Lin Tai. The more he thought about it, the more likely it was. After all, not long ago, the three brothers fought with Lin Tai, and they were defeated in one move. Ning Yu defeated him in one move, and it seemed like he did not use his full strength. "I'm sorry." Ning Yu moved and came in front of Long Da and said indifferently, "You have two choices now. First, like Long San, open your mind and let me control you. Second, die. Even if I die, I will definitely not let you control me." Long Da said, fiercely, not backing down at all. "Pooh, Ning, you could not be bothered to talk nonsense with Long Da here." He took out the red demon sword and stabbed it into Long Da's heart. Long Da lowered his head to look at the blood-red flying sword at his heart, and his face was filled with shock. He was just saying some harsh words. But who would have thought that Ning Yu would kill him directly? Until he died. Long Da felt that he died unjustly. After killing Long Da, Ning Yu threw him into the red demon sword for the Dark Emperor to devour. The Dark Emperor had just advanced to the early stage Immortal King, and he needed a large amount of energy to devour. If he prepared a peak Immortal King Long Da for the Dark Emperor might be able to break through to the mid-stage Immortal King very quickly. After doing all this, Ning Yu looked at Long Air. Plop! Long Air was very self-aware. Even Long Da was killed in a domineering manner. If he dared to go against Ning Yu again, his outcome would definitely be miserable. Long Air knelt down to Ning Yu on the spot and said anxiously, "I choose to open my mind and submit to you." Amen, that's more like it. Long Air's reaction made Ning Yu very satisfied. He separated a bit of soul force and entered Long Air's body, hiding it in his heart. Why is the second illusion? After controlling Long Air, Ning Yu finally had time to observe his surroundings. Roar! However, Chapter 2489. Chapter 2489. Chapter 2489. Blazing Dragon Inner Elixir. Blazing Dragon! The sudden, earth-shattering roar caused Long Air and Long San's expressions to change drastically. In fact, before Ning Yu entered the second illusion, Long Air and the others were already in the illusion. Moreover, they even encountered the blazing dragon. However, the strongest of the blazing dragon they encountered before was only at the late Immortal King stage. With the strength of the three brothers, they could easily deal with a blazing dragon at the late Immortal King stage. However, the blazing dragon that appeared in front of them, no, it should be called a group of blazing dragons, were all very powerful. Looking around, the weakest one was at the peak of the Immortal King stage. So many blazing dragons at the peak of the Immortal King stage appeared together. The scene was extremely shocking. Is this the treasure of the second illusion? Ning Yu looked at the group of blazing dragons in the distance and frowned slightly, feeling a little excited. The blazing dragon was a special kind of dragon. Their inner elixir was of great help to refining the body. In other words, it was the blazing dragon inner elixir which could speed up the refining of the body and strengthen the body of the martial artist. With so many blazing dragons, if he could get his hands on all of their inner elixirs, then Ning Yu believed that Ning Lu, the Dark Emperor, and Lin Lang would all be able to raise their bodies to the level of a first-tier quasi-emperor. Go! Ning Yu didn't think too much about it. He rose from the ground, holding the red demon sword, and charged into the group of blazing dragons. Roar! 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 Many blazing dragons raised their heads and roared, roaring as they fought with Ning Yu. Unfortunately, Ning Yu was very powerful, and these blazing dragons were clearly courting death by fighting him. The first batch of blazing dragons that fought with Ning Yu only lasted for 3 seconds before they were all defeated. Ning Yu held the red demon sword in his hand, tiptoed, and picked out all the inner elixirs of these blazing dragons. The blazing dragon inner elixir could strengthen the body, so Ning Yu naturally would not waste it. Human, you are very strong. When Ningyu was done, the huge red raging flame dragon in the middle of the group of raging flame dragons finally said, "Why don't we work together? Cooperate?" Ningyu crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at the fiery red dragon with interest. He asked doubtfully, "How do we cooperate?" Originally, in Ningyu's opinion, these blazing fire dragons would definitely attack him indiscriminately until they were either killed or killed themselves. But now, it seemed that he was thinking too much. It seemed Lai Huolong did not have a good relationship with the master of the quasi-emperor mystic realm. In other words, most of these blazing fire dragons were demonic beasts that had been captured by the master of the quasi-emperor mystic realm. You're smart. You should know what I mean. The red raging flame dragon smiled and immediately transmitted a message to Ningyu. 100,000 years ago, the evil dragon slayer Venerable captured us and brought us to the cloud-soaring mountain range and sealed us in the middle of the second mountain range. I won't tell you everything that has happened in the past 100,000 years. In short, you have two choices now. 1. Cooperate with me and help me leave the quasi-emperor mystic realm. 2. Be killed by me, and I will find someone else to cooperate with. Ningyu did not reply to the red raging flame dragon immediately. To be honest, he did not really believe what the red raging flame dragon said. After all, this was an illusion. Everything that happened in the illusory realm could be fake and illusory. It was understandable that Ningyu did not believe the red raging flame dragon. "You don't seem to trust me." The red raging flame dragon saw the change in Ningyu's expression and smiled. Then it spat out several fireballs. Chi chi chi. These fireballs did not attack Ningyu and Linlang. Instead, they turned around and attacked the many blazing fire dragons at the side. In just a few minutes, apart from the red raging flame dragon, there was not a single living, blazing fire dragon. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The red raging flame dragon quickly dug out the inner core of the death raging flame dragon and threw it all to Ningyu. Pa! Ningyu waved his wrist, causing the inner core of the raging flame dragon to float in front of him. No problem. Using his perception, Ningyu checked for a bit before storing the inner core of the raging flame dragon into the red demon sword. The illusion might be fake, but Ningyu knew that these inner cores of the raging flame dragon were all real. Since the inner cores of the raging flame dragon were real, it was not impossible to cooperate with the red raging flame dragon. How about it? Do you want to consider cooperating with me? The red raging flame dragon smiled. Then, its figure flashed and transformed into a young man. Boom! Moreover, the red raging flame dragon released its aura. Hiss! Feeling the aura emitted by the red raging flame dragon, Ninglu and Linlang, including Ninglu, all gasped. Dao Domain Realm? Dao Advent Realm? At the very least, Ningyu could determine that the cultivation of the red raging flame dragon was not at the peak of the Immortal King realm. At the very least, it was at the Dao Domain realm. In fact, it was very likely to be at the Dao Advent realm. The red raging flame dragon's thinking was very simple. Whether it was coercion or temptation, it had to succeed today. It had already stayed in this illusion for 100,000 years, and it did not want to stay any longer. If it followed Ningyu, it might have a chance to leave the cloud-soaring mountain range completely. Do I have a choice? Ningyu took a deep breath, spread his hands, and said, "But I have to remind you that I have offended many people. If you follow me, you might encounter misfortune." "It's fine," the red raging flame dragon said proudly. "After leaving the outer area of the quasi-emperor mystic realm, I will follow you to the core area to retrieve something. If you have any enemies, I will help you get rid of them. Before leaving, I want to refine the raging flame dragon's inner core." Ningyu took out the raging flame dragon's inner core from the red demon sword and threw it to Ninglu and Linlang for them to refine. As for Ningyu himself, he did not swallow the raging flame dragon's inner core. Firstly, his body was at the peak of the first-rank quasi-emperor. Even if he swallowed the inner core, it would be very difficult to improve. Secondly, Ning Lu and Lin Lang had swallowed the inner core, so he needed to stay behind to protect them. Crack! Crack! Ning Lu and Lin Lang did not waste any time. They caught the raging flame dragon's inner core and threw it into their mouths. Then they circulated their techniques and began refining it. Drip! Drip! Time passed. The speed at which Ning Lu and Lin Lang refined the inner core had reached a terrifying level. A minute later, Ning Lu opened his eyes, and a terrifying aura emanated from his body. Late stage, Immortal King. After swallowing the raging flame dragon's inner core, Ning Lu not only raised his body strength to the mid-stage quasi-emperor realm, but even his cultivation had advanced to the late-stage Immortal King realm, similar to Ningyu. Compared to him, Lin Lang was slightly weaker. After swallowing the raging flame dragon's inner core, Lin Lang's cultivation had soared to the mid-stage Immortal King realm, and his body strength had reached the early-stage quasi-emperor realm. The people in the Red Demon Sword were also swallowing the raging flame dragon's inner core in an orderly manner. However, apart from the Dark Emperor, the others, such as the Water Moon Fairy, had not even refined a single raging flame dragon's inner core. After all, their cultivation had not reached the Immortal King realm, and some had not even reached the Heavenly Monarch realm. After swallowing the raging flame dragon's inner core, the Dark Emperor's cultivation had reached the mid-stage Immortal King realm. His body strength was the same as Lin Lang's, reaching the early-stage quasi-emperor realm. His talent is not bad. Chapter 2490. The Second World Tree. Ning Yu's heart skipped a beat when he heard the dragon's words. He could vaguely sense that something was amiss. The red fiery dragon was from the fiery dragon tribe. Normally, it was rare for a dragon to devour its own kind. Whoosh! Ning Yu's soul power surged as he approached the red fiery dragon. Don't waste your energy. However, Ning Yu's soul power was discovered before it could reach the red fiery dragon. The red fiery dragon smiled at Ning Yu and said, "I'm not from the fiery dragon tribe. It's not surprising for me to devour their inner dawn." You're not a real dragon, are you? Ning Yu's mouth was slightly agape as he exclaimed, "What do you think?" The red fiery dragon did not answer Ning Yu's question directly. "What the hell do I know?" Ning Yu rolled his eyes. He did not know if the red fiery dragon was a dragon. After all, it would be difficult for him to go against the red fiery dragon with his current strength. Otherwise, he would definitely force out the red fiery dragon's secret. "Let me introduce myself. You can call me Ao Xing, the red fiery dragon." "No, it should be Ao Xing," said to Ningyu. Actually, the reason why Ao Xing chose Ningyu was because he didn't want to stay here any longer. Secondly, he sensed a trace of the dragon clan's aura from Ningyu. Back in the lower realm, Ningyu had tempered his body with dragon blood. Therefore, there was a trace of dragon aura left on him. Ao Xing. Ningyu did not continue asking. The name Ao Xing was enough to explain many things. Rumor had it that the surname of the true dragon tribe was Ao. Of course, these were all rumors. No one had ever confirmed it. The dragon tribe had always been elusive. Those who had seen the true dragon tribe were all super experts and authorities of the Immortal Court. Let's go to the third illusion realm. Since he knew Ao Xing's true identity, there was no need for him to stay. There were 18 mountain ranges in the outer perimeter of the quasi-emperor mystic realm. Currently, Ningyu and the others had only reached the second mountain range. If they could pass through earlier, no one wanted to be late. There's no need to go to the third illusion realm. Ao Xing shook his head and said, "Follow me. I'll take you to the last illusion. The things in that illusion are the good things." Kacha! During the conversation, Ao Xing flicked his wrist, and the void in front of him suddenly split open. Immediately after, Ao Xing moved his feet and entered the void first. Ning Yu and Ning Lu looked at each other and then entered the void. After all, with Ao Xing's strength, he would have made a move long ago if he wanted to kill them, and there was utterly no need to wait until now. He believed that Ao Xing might really be able to reach the final secret realm. Since Ning Yu and Ning Lu had entered the void, there was no reason for Long Tu and Long San to stay. They also entered the void. Whoosh! After entering the void, Ning Yu and the others felt their vision go black and they lost consciousness. Nobody knew how long had passed. It seemed to be 1 day, but it also seemed to be 10 days. When a ray of light appeared in front of them, Ning Yu, Lin Lang, and the others all woke up. "We're here." Ao Xing pointed at the empty space in front of them and explained, "This is the 18th mountain range, which is also the 18th illusion realm that you speak of." Ning Yu looked around. After a while, he said doubtfully, "Where's the treasure you spoke of?" "Don't be anxious." Ao Xing flicked his finger, and a cold ray of light shot out. Whoosh! Instantly, the ground split open, and a tree as thick as a waist appeared in front of everyone. "What the F***? CK?" Seeing this tree, Ning Lu cursed inwardly. World Tree. This tree's main body was the World Tree. In the entire Immortal Court, there were a total of 108 World Trees with their own consciousness. The one in front of them was the one in the 100 forest domain of the 8 southern regions. Swoosh! As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes turn especially red. When 2 world trees with their own consciousness met for the first time, they would definitely fight to snatch each other's origin. However, unlike Ning Lu, although this world tree had its own consciousness, it could not transform into the appearance of a human, and could only attack Ning Lu in the shape of a tree. Rumble! The battle instantly broke out. Fortunately, Ning Lu had advanced to the late-stage Immortal King realm, and the toughness of his body had reached the mid-stage of the First Order Quasi-Emperor realm. Otherwise, he would definitely be defeated by this world tree. What's going on? Even Ao Xing was a little confused by the sudden change. He brought Ning Yu and the others to the 18th illusion realm with the purpose of letting Ning Yu and the others comprehend something under this tree. Who would have thought? After this tree saw Ning Lu, it immediately started fighting. The change of Ao Xing's expression fell into Ning Yu's eyes. He should not know that this is a world tree. Ning Yu thought to himself. Ning Lu had once told Ning Yu that there were a total of 108 world trees with their own consciousness in the Immortal Court. This sapling fought Ning Lu as soon as it saw him, which meant that it was one of the 108. What's going on? Ao Xing moved slightly closer to Ning Yu and said in confusion, "I have seen this tree a few times in the past tens of thousands of years, but it has never acted like this. I am not very clear about the details." Ning Yu said in a low voice. Thinking of some things that had happened before, Ning Yu began to worry about Ning Lu. The Quasi-Emperor's secret realm had existed for at least 100,000 years. And the world tree seemed to have been cut off less than 100,000 years ago. What was going on? Did Ning Lu lie to him, or was Ning Lu deceived as well? Shaking his head, Ning Yu temporarily threw these thoughts out of his mind. At the current stage, the most important thing was to help Ning Lu deal with the world tree and nothing else. No need to help. The grudge between the world trees must be resolved by the world tree itself. However, just as Ning Yu was about to make a move, he heard Ning Lu's voice. Helpless, Ning Yu could only stay where he was and quietly watch the battle between Ning Lu and the world tree. However, the worry in Ning Yu's eyes grew stronger and stronger. Perhaps on the surface, Ning Lu had the upper hand. However, Ning Yu was very clear that if this continued, the one who would lose in the end would definitely be Ning Lu. There was no other reason. The world tree was rooted in this illusory realm and could endlessly devour the surrounding energy to replenish its consumption. And the energy that Ning Lu consumed seemed to be unable to be replenished. In this situation, how could Ning Lu win? Ao Xing, has this tree been here since 100,000 years ago? Ning Yu's eyes turned, and he began to look for a breakthrough point from Ao Xing. Perhaps what Ao Xing knew could help Ning Lu. It's a certain age. Ao Xing thought for a moment and said, maybe 100,000 years or maybe 1,000,000 years. Anyway, at my peak, cough cough, it existed for a very long time. At my peak. Ning Yu did not show it on the surface, but his heart was in turmoil. Ao Xing at the Dao domain realm was not at his peak. From this, Ao Xing at his peak was very likely to be a true quasi-emperor. Then, how do I break this illusion? Ning Yu collected his thoughts and asked again. In Ning Yu's opinion, the moment the illusion was broken, this world tree would definitely be affected. Chapter 2491. Chapter 2491. Chapter 2491. The first 1,000 inch. There is only one way to break the illusion, and that is to get the recognition of that tree. To be honest, Ao Xing was very depressed. The reason why he chose to cooperate with Ning Yu was that he believed that Ning Yu could get the recognition of the tree and help him break the illusion. After all, for so many years, not only had he come here to comprehend, but he had also found many people to comprehend with him. But unfortunately, whether it was him or the people he found, without exception, they all failed to comprehend. He thought that Ning Yu would succeed this time, but who would have thought that the martial artist next to Ning Yu would fight with the tree? Get the recognition of that tree. Ning Yu did not care about Ao Xing's depression. His expression became a little ugly. Ning Lu had already fought with the Tree of World. How could he get its recognition? From this point of view, it was not realistic to break the illusion to help Ning Lu. I still have to think of a way. Ning Yu frowned slightly and fell into deep thought. Rumble. While Ning Yu was still thinking about countermeasures, the battle between Ning Lu and the Tree of World had already reached the climax. As expected, as time passed, Ning Lu's decline began to show. The Tree of World fought more and more bravely, almost suppressing Ning Lu. According to this situation, Ning Lu would be defeated in, at most, 1 minute. Swallow. Just as Ning Yu was worried about Ning Lu's body suddenly became bigger, and his mouth was several times bigger. An extremely terrifying devouring power came out of Ning Lu's mouth. The next moment, Ning Lu directly swallowed the Tree of World in front of everyone. Gulp! The sudden change not only made Ning Yu swallow a mouthful of saliva, but even Ao Xing was in a state of confusion. What was going on? The tree in the 18th mountain in the outer area of the Quasi-Emperor's secret realm was swallowed by a late-stage immortal king martial artist? If someone had told Ao Xing that there was a late-stage immortal king martial artist who could swallow the tree in the 18th mountain, Ao Xing would probably have called that person a fool. But now, seeing it with his own eyes, Ao Xing had no choice but to believe it. What is this? Ao Xing opened his mouth slightly and said, "The illusion has been broken." Kacha! As if to prove Ao Xing's words, a crisp cracking sound rang out. Ka-ka-ka. Following that, a series of cracking sounds could be heard. Not long after, the illusions of the 18th mountain range were all broken. It really broke. Ao Xing took a deep breath and revealed some excitement in his eyes. 100,000 years, 100,000 years. He had been trapped in the outer region of the Quasi-Emperor mystic realm for 100,000 years. Now he had finally regained his freedom. However, after the excitement, Ao Xing started to size Ning Lu up. He really wanted to know how Ning Lu managed to swallow that tree. You should know. The Dragon Slayer evil lord, who had trapped him in the outer region of the Quasi-Emperor secret realm, had said that the tree had been there for a long time, and even he himself might not be able to move it. But all of this was accomplished by a late-stage immortal king. How could Ao Xing not be shocked? However, despite being shocked, Ao Xing did not do anything out of line. His main body was still trapped in the core region of the quasi-emperor mystic realm. If he fell out with Ningyu, it was very likely that no one would help him find his main body. If he lost his main body, it would be extremely difficult for him to return to his peak again. Furthermore, from the outer region of the quasi-emperor mystic realm to the core region, there was still an extremely dangerous area, the Maple Leaf Forest. It was rumored that the Maple Leaf Forest was filled with demonic beasts. Dao Domain Realm and Dao Advent Realm demonic beasts had also appeared. Ao Xing had lost his main body, and his overall strength was at the peak Dao Domain Realm. If he went to the Maple Leaf Forest with his strength, it would be fine if he encountered Dao Domain Realm demonic beasts. But if he encountered Dao Advent Realm demonic beasts, even he might be killed. Swoosh! As soon as he left the 18th mountain range, Ning Lu turned into a shadow and entered the Red Demon Sword. After swallowing a world tree with consciousness, Ning Lu felt that his internal organs were burning. At this time, he urgently needed to go into seclusion and try to completely refine the world tree in his body. Once he refined the world tree, then his strength would have a qualitative leap. At that time, the peak Immortal King would not be Ning Lu's end. The Maple Leaf Forest is ahead. After passing through the Maple Leaf Forest, we'll reach the entrance of the core region. Ao Xing glanced at the red demon sword in Ningyu's hand, then pointed to the forest ahead and said, "The Maple Leaf Forest is filled with demonic beasts. It's extremely dangerous. I suggest that everyone hide your aura and move forward slowly." "Are there Dao Domain Realm demonic beasts in the Maple Leaf Forest?" Ningyu asked with a frown. "Dao Domain Realm? Haha, there are even Dao Advent Realm demonic beasts." Ao Xing smiled and said, "But don't worry. If we encounter Dao Domain Realm demonic beasts, I'll step forward to stop them. But if we encounter Dao Advent Realm demonic beasts, we'll leave it to fate." "Wait." Ning Yu stopped Ao Xing and said, "Since the Maple Leaf Forest is dangerous, then let's cultivate here for a while. It won't be too late to enter after our strength increases." "Cultivate here?" Ao Xing almost cursed out loud. The entrance of the Maple Leaf Forest was as dangerous as the inside of the Maple Leaf Forest. Moreover, Ao Xing did not think that Ning Yu could cultivate anything. Ao Xing saw it clearly. Ning Yu's cultivation was at the late-stage Immortal King, not too far from the peak Immortal King. It was not easy for Ning Yu to reach the late-stage Immortal King at his age. However, it was not that easy for Ning Yu to break through to the peak Immortal King in a short time. Crack! Ning Yu ignored Ao Xing and took out the gourd he got from Longda. He took out a Dao fruit and tossed it into his mouth. He activated his skill. Ning Yu began to refine the Dao fruit with all his might. But unfortunately, there was no Dao in the first Dao fruit. Crack! Immediately after, Ning Yu took out the second Dao fruit. Nothing. The third. Still nothing. Ning Yu did not give up. He took out more Dao fruits and tossed them into his mouth. "You win." Ao Xing rolled his eyes. Out of sight, out of mind. He walked straight to the other side and began to cultivate. After leaving the outer area of the quasi-emperor mystic realm, the suppression he felt instantly reduced. The reduced suppression meant that he could devour the energy in the void and strengthen himself. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. Ao Xing was cultivating. Ningyu was refining the Dao fruit, and Long Air and Long Sin were discussing something at the side. As for Lin Lang, he was not cultivating. Instead, he was in charge of guarding. The Maple Leaf Forest was very dangerous. If a demonic beast came out, he would be able to hold it off. After all, he had advanced to the mid-stage Immortal King, and his physical body was comparable to an early-stage, first-stage quasi-emperor. His overall strength had improved greatly. Unless he encountered a Dao domain realm demonic beast, it should not be a problem for him to block 2 or 3 moves. Boom! 10 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. When the 11th minute arrived, an extremely terrifying aura suddenly emanated from Ning Yu's body. The great Dao ranked in the top 1,000. Ao Xing immediately stopped cultivating, and his eyes revealed a look of surprise. Chapter 2492. Discovered. Whoosh! Ao Xing's shock did not affect Ningyu in the slightest. At this moment, Ningyu was using the internal peeping art to probe the situation in his body. In other words, he was probing the great Dao condensed in his body. In addition to the great Dao condensed previously, there were now 3 great Dao in Ningyu's body. The reason why Ningyu had such an expression was because he discovered that the strongest great Dao in his body had actually started to devour the other 2 great Dao. Devouring great Dao? Ningyu was even more shocked than Ao Xing. This was because the devouring great Dao was ranked in the top 10 of the 3,000 great Dao. Of course, only after the devouring great Dao reached the limit could it enter the top 10 of the 3,000 great Dao. The weak devouring great Dao could not even enter the 3,000 great Dao. The great Dao that Ningyu condensed not only entered the 3,000 great Dao, but it was even ranked in the top 1,000 of the 3,000 great Dao. Qi. Not long after, the great Dao in Ningyu's body was completely devoured by the devouring great Dao. Originally, Ningyu's devouring great Dao could be ranked in the top 1,000. Now that it had devoured 2 great Dao, its ranking moved up by 2 places to rank 998th. I should be able to use it to fight enemies, right? With a thought, Ningyu made the devouring great Dao leave his body and blast at Ao Xing bang. Ao Xing's expression changed, and he hurriedly punched out. The 2 collided. The devouring great Dao retreated several feet and floated above Ningyu's head. On the other hand, Ao Xing stood where he was without moving. Although Ao Xing did not move, Ao Xing's expression became extremely ugly. Others might not know, but Ao Xing was very clear. In the process of his great Dao battle with Ningyu earlier, some of the vitality in his body had been devoured. At this moment, Ao Xing had already roughly determined some things. The great Dao that Ningyu condensed was the mysterious and terrifying devouring great Dao. Just by relying on the devouring great Dao, his strength should be able to contend with early-stage Dao domain cultivators and even kill them easily. Ao Xing thought to himself, the speed at which Ningyu's strength increased was indeed terrifying, so terrifying that even he was a little afraid. Based on this trend, Ningyu's strength would most likely reach a level where he could contend against him when they reached the entrance to the core region of the Quasi-Emperor's secret realm. The more he thought about it, the more Ao Xing felt that it was possible. Can we go now? However, Ao Xing didn't say anything to Ningyu. He swung his slightly painful palm and said, "Let's go through the maple forest as soon as possible, and then go to the core area to snatch the opportunity." Of course, Ningyu did not continue probing. After all, Ao Xing was very powerful. If they really fought, he might not be able to win. Hence Ningyu, Ao Xing, Lin Lang, and even Long Tu and Long San followed closely behind, rushing towards the maple leaf forest. Xiao, 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 xiao. Several whooshing sounds rang out in the dense maple forest. Then a few figures appeared. Without a doubt, these were none other than Ningyu, Ao Xing, and the others. The maple leaf forest was huge, so huge that it exceeded Ningyu's imagination. After entering the maple leaf forest, Ningyu and the others moved forward slowly at first. 5 minutes later, they moved forward at a medium speed, and another 5 minutes later, they started moving forward at full speed. Just like that, they still hadn't reached the center of the maple leaf forest after about half an hour. Stop! After moving forward at full speed for another 10 minutes, Ningyu and Ao Xing's expressions changed at the same time, and they said in a deep voice, "Hide." Looking at each other, Ningyu and Ao Xing could see some seriousness in each other's eyes. Not far in front of them, there were two people fighting. To be precise, the two parties fighting were not all humans. One was a human, and the other was a demonic beast. The cultivation of humans was at the early stage Tao arrival realm, while the cultivation of demonic beasts was at the mid-stage Tao arrival realm. Do you know who they are? In the void, Ning-Yu looked at Lin Lang next to him and asked, as the crown prince of the Holy Ming Empire, if even he didn't know the identity of the man in front of him. Then Ao Xing probably wouldn't know either. That human is called Lin Xian, a peerless genius of the Holy Ming Empire. Lin Lang clenched his fists tightly and said fiercely, "Compared to him, Lin Tai is worlds apart." "You have enmity with him?" Ningyu was puzzled. From Lin Lang's eyes, Ningyu saw a trace of anger. Previously, when Lin Lang looked at Lin Tai, he had this kind of expression. Irreconcilable enmity. Lin Lang took a deep breath and said, "The Holy Ming Empire ended up in such a state mainly because of Lin Xian." "Don't speak. Try your best to hide your aura." Ningyu still wanted to ask something when Ao Xing said hurriedly, "A quasi-emperor is rushing over here." Swoosh! Hearing that, Ningyu's expression changed, and he hurriedly concealed his aura completely. Although Lin Xian was powerful, his cultivation was only at the Tao domain realm. The cultivation of the demon beast that Lin Xian was fighting was slightly higher, and it was at the Tao Advent realm. The two of them were fighting, so they naturally didn't pay too much attention to observe over here. But the others were different. If it was really as Ao Xing said, and a quasi-emperor was rushing over, then they had to try their best to conceal their auras to avoid being noticed. Roar! The Tao Advent realm demon beast seemed to have realized that a quasi-emperor expert was rushing over as well, and it raised its head and roared furiously before blasting towards Lin Xian with all its might. It wanted to finish off Lin Xian, a Tao domain realm expert, before the quasi-emperor expert arrived. Bang! However, the Tao Advent realm demon beast had obviously underestimated the speed of a quasi-emperor expert. It hadn't even arrived before Lin Xian when the quasi-emperor expert appeared before it. Moreover, the quasi-emperor expert's fist brought along a violent gale of energy as it fiercely smashed towards its head. Roar! The Tao Advent realm demon beast could only raise its head and roar furiously before retreating swiftly towards the back. But it was a pity. Even though the Tao Advent realm demon beast's speed of retreat was extremely swift, it was still unable to escape the quasi-emperor expert's attack. Swish! The quasi-emperor expert's fist contained formidable might, and it just happened to smash onto the Tao Advent realm demon beast's heart. With its heart penetrated, the Tao Advent realm demon beast struggled for a moment before falling to the ground and dying on the spot. There's a limit to gaining experience. No one can save you if you delay things. The quasi-emperor expert glanced at Lin Xian and said indifferently, "I'll give you half an hour to refine this Tao Advent realm demon beast as soon as possible and strive to advance to the Tao Advent realm. After that, go to the entrance of the core area and wait for us." Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the quasi-emperor expert's figure flashed as he flashed towards the distance. However, the quasi-emperor expert had just taken a few steps back when he suddenly stopped. His gaze moved to look towards where Ningyu and Ao Xing were. The quasi-emperor expert looked over. It caused the hearts of Ningyu, Ao Xing, and the others to rise to their throats. At this moment, once they were noticed by a quasi-emperor expert, the consequences would be unimaginable. So, no matter if it was Ningyu or Ao Xing, both of them were trying their best to conceal their auras. It was even to the extent that Ning Yu and Ao Xing even helped Lin Lang, Long Air, and Long San conceal their auras to prevent them from being noticed by the quasi-emperor expert. Swish, swish, swish. It seemed as if Ning Yu and Ao Xing's hard work wasn't effective. Chapter 2493. Battle. Oh no! Ao Xing's expression changed when he saw the quasi-emperor expert walking towards him. Prepare for battle. Ao Xing cursed inwardly. If he wasn't discovered by the quasi-emperor expert, he would definitely use a secret technique to escape without a second word. However, at such a close distance, even if he used a secret technique, he would definitely be caught by the quasi-emperor expert. Compared to Ningyu and the rest, he was the strongest. Even a fool would know to chase after him first before chasing after Ningyu and the rest. Therefore, Ao Xing couldn't care less. He decided to drag Ningyu down with him first. With Ningyu's help, they might really be able to escape. Don't make a sound. Relatively speaking, Ningyu wasn't as afraid as Ao Xing. Their aura concealment technique was extremely brilliant. Even a quasi-emperor expert might not be able to discover them. Moreover, the quasi-emperor expert walking over was only an early stage, first stage quasi-emperor. It was difficult for a quasi-emperor expert of this level to discover them. Am I seeing things? As expected, the quasi-emperor expert stopped after a few steps. He furrowed his brows slightly and released his perception to probe his surroundings. A while later, the quasi-emperor expert retracted his perception and shook his head. There have been a lot of battles recently. Looks like I'll have to go into seclusion after obtaining the great emperor's spiritual liquid. Lin Xian, hurry up. The quasi-emperor expert didn't stay here for long. He said to Lin Xian once more, and then tore open the void and dived in. Whoosh! Seeing the quasi-emperor expert leave, Ning Yu and Ao Xing heaved a sigh of relief, as though they had taken a trip to the gates of hell. Given their strength, even a first-stage quasi-emperor would have no chance of winning if they encountered a quasi-emperor expert. After all, above the Tao domain realm, there is still the Tao Advent realm and the Heaven receiving realm. 10 minutes after the quasi-emperor expert left, Ning Yu and Ao Xing appeared from the void. Who is it? Ning Yu and the others had just appeared when Lin Xian, who was in the distance, noticed something. He shouted in a low voice, "Why are you being so sneaky? Hurry up and come out." "As you wish." Ning Yu leaped up and flashed before Lin Xian along with Ao Xing, Lin Lang, and the others. At this moment, Lin Lang had already returned to his original appearance, not even concealing his aura. "So it's you, Trash." Lin Xian roughly glanced at Ning Yu and Ao Xing, and then his gaze descended onto Lin Lang. "Intermediate Immortal King. I didn't expect you to advance to the Intermediate Immortal King realm with your talent. It seems like you have obtained quite a lot of benefits from this trip." The corner of Lin Xian's lips curled up, and he said darkly, "I'll give you a chance to live. Kneel down and kowtow to me a few times. Maybe if I'm in a good mood, I'll let you live. Don't be too arrogant." Lin Lang clenched his fists and said in a low voice, "Although your cultivation is higher than mine, you won't be able to escape today." When they were in the void earlier, Ningyu had already discussed with Lin Lang to help Lin Lang get rid of the traitor, Lin Xian. Among them, Ao Xing also decided to join in and kill Lin Xian together. After all, there was a Tao Advent realm beast corpse next to Lin Xian. If Ao Xing wanted the inner core of the corpse, he naturally had to fight Lin Xian. Ha ha ha! Lin Xian seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. He threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Then he changed the topic and said coldly, "Do you think you can pose a threat to me with just a few Tom, Dick, and Harry? Come out, eighth uncle." Whoosh! As soon as Lin Xian finished speaking, The void trembled. Then, the quasi-emperor expert who had just left appeared again. Hiss! Seeing the quasi-emperor powerhouse return, Ningyu and Ao Xing sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. They had been tricked. No wonder Lin Xian was so fearless. It turned out that the quasi-emperor expert had been hiding in the surroundings, waiting for them to appear. Haha, I've long discovered you guys. I'm just playing a game with you. The quasi-emperor expert smiled and said, Peak Dao Domain Realm, Late Stage Immortal King Realm. After devouring you guys, my cultivation should be able to reach the peak of early stage, first stage, quasi-emperor, and advance towards mid-stage, first stage, quasi-emperor. Roar! However, who would the heavens spare? Just as the quasi-emperor expert was about to attack, there was a loud roar from afar. Accompanied by this loud roar, a huge demonic beast gradually appeared in everyone's sight. Oh no, it's a quasi-emperor demonic beast. Seeing the sudden appearance of the demonic beast, the quasi-emperor expert's expression changed drastically. He was an early stage, first stage quasi-emperor, and the demonic beast in front of him was also an early stage, first stage quasi-emperor. Generally speaking, it was difficult for human martial artists to compete with demonic beasts of the same level. Run. There was only one thought in the quasi-emperor expert's mind, and that was to run as far as possible. It would be best if he could leave the Maple Leaf Forest. Only by leaving the Maple Leaf Forest could he be absolutely safe, because none of the demonic beasts in the Maple Leaf Forest could leave the Maple Leaf Forest. They could only be arrogant within the Maple Leaf Forest. Roar! 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 The quasi-emperor demonic beast swept a glance at the demonic beast corpses lying on the ground. Then it raised its head and roared angrily, charging towards the quasi-emperor expert. Everything came and went quickly. From the appearance of the quasi-emperor demonic beast to the pursuit of the quasi-emperor expert, it merely happened in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint. Swish! Swish! Seeing the quasi-emperor expert escape, Lin Xian's expression changed. He immediately tore the void and wanted to leave. Unfortunately, Ningyu and Ao Xing were faster than him and sealed the surrounding void first, causing Lin Xian to be unable to escape. Don't think that I'm afraid of you. Lin Xian said coldly, I'm the peak Dao Domain Realm. If we really fight, it's still unknown who will win. Haha, I know that your cultivation is at the peak Dao Domain Realm. Ningyu smiled lightly and said, If you didn't fight a Dao Advent Realm demonic beast, we naturally wouldn't be able to stop you. But you've just experienced a great battle, and the energy in your body has been exhausted too much. You'll die without a doubt if you fight us. That might not be the case. A cold light shot out from Lin Xian's eyes, and he withdrew a medicinal pill from his bosom and tossed it into his mouth. Bang! The medicinal pill melted in his mouth and entered Lin Xian's throat before entering his abdomen. Very soon, Lin Xian's aura started to rise rapidly. In a short few seconds, Lin Xian's aura strengthened by more than double. Of course, it didn't mean that Lin Xian had broken through to the Dao Advent realm, but his aura had recovered to its peak state, recovered to the peak Dao Domain realm. Under such circumstances, it was quite difficult for Ningyu and Ao Xing to defeat Lin Xian again. I still stand by what I said. As long as all of you kneel down and kowtow to me to admit your wrongs, I can spare your lowly lives. After recovering to his peak, Lin Xian's confidence rose greatly, and he said fiercely, All of you caused me to swallow an emperor-grade medicinal pill. Only by becoming my slaves can you avoid death. Chapter 2494. Chapter 2494. Chapter 240 for the Great Tao of Devouring shows its might. No problem. Ao Xing naturally knew what Ningyu wanted to do. Similarly, a peak Dao Domain Realm powerhouse. Due to Ao Xing not having his main body, his overall strength was slightly lower than Lin Xian's. If they really fought with their lives on the line, Ao Xing might not necessarily be able to gain an advantage. However, if it was just to attract Lin Xian's attention, Ao Xing didn't think it would be a problem. After all, Ao Xing knew better than anyone how terrifying the Devour Great Tao was. Normally, even if a martial artist died, the Great Tao in their body could not be devoured by others and turned into their own. The devouring Great Tao was different. Even if Lin Xian died in battle, the devouring Great Tao could devour the Great Tao in his body. The Grand Tao of Devour was an extremely terrifying Grand Tao. Since ancient times until now, every time the Grand Tao of Devour appeared, it would definitely cause a storm of blood. Ao Xing did not think too much about it. He immediately gathered the energy in his body into his fist and punched towards Lin Xian. Rumble. The aftermath of a battle between experts was extremely powerful. Lin Lang, Long Air, and Long Sen hastily retreated, fearing that they would be affected. The few of them were comparatively weaker. Once they were affected by the aftershock of the battle between Tao Domain Realm experts, the consequences would be unimaginable. If they were lucky, they would suffer heavy injuries. If they were unlucky, they would die on the spot. Great Tao of Devouring. Looking at the battle between Ao Xing and Lin Xian, Ning Yu started to activate the Great Tao of Devouring within his body. Meanwhile, Ning Yu even stealthily guided the terrifying energy in his body to his fist. When he was dealing with General Lan Pan, a subordinate of Blood Sky Battle Emperor, Ning Yu had obtained some energy from him. When the energy was fully detonated, its power was comparable to a quasi-emperor's attack. Ning Yu's thinking was very simple. If the Great Tao of Devouring didn't work on Lin Xian, he would immediately activate the energy and kill Lin Xian. Originally, this energy was Ning Yu's trump card. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he did not intend to use it. However, the current situation did not allow him to think too much. It was comparable to the full-powered strike of a quasi-emperor. It would not be a loss if it could kill Lin Xian. After all, it was unrealistic to use this energy to deal with a quasi-emperor expert. Quasi-emperors would not stand still and let you attack them. Even if he stood still and let you attack him, as a quasi-emperor expert, how could you kill him with a full-powered attack? Kill. In midair, Ao Xing and Lin Xian's battle had reached its climax. At first, Lin Xian was at a slight disadvantage, but as time passed, Lin Xian fought more and more ferociously. In the end, he actually suppressed Ao Xing tightly, causing Ao Xing to feel a little powerless. Ha ha ha. Lin Xian raised his head and roared with laughter. Today, I'll let all of you know the consequences of offending me. Flying fist. Clenching his right hand into a fist, Lin Xian directly used a sovereign tier battle skill. The Skysword Fist was an emperor rank battle skill, and when executed to its limits, its might was comparable to a peak early stage emperor rank battle skill. Lin Xian had once used the Flying Fist to kill a Dao Advent realm expert in the Sage Ming Empire. At that time, Lin Xian's cultivation was only at the late stage Dao domain realm, not the peak Dao domain realm. Now that Lin Xian had advanced to the peak Dao domain realm, the power of his Flying Heaven Fist had more than doubled. Damn it! Ao Xing could not help but curse when he saw Lin Xian use an Emperor tier battle skill. Because he didn't have a real body, Ao Xing couldn't use many of the Dragon Clan's unique combat skills. He could only use Soul Force to restrain Lin Xian, forcing Lin Xian to be unable to concentrate on using martial Dao attacks to defeat him. Fortunately, the strength of Ao Xing's Soul Force had reached the peak Dao domain realm, whereas the strength of Lin Xian's Soul Force was only at the peak late-stage Dao domain realm, only a step away from the peak Dao domain realm. Otherwise, Lin Xian could erupt with even more formidable strength. Ningyu, get ready. After fighting Lin Xian for a while more, Ao Xing's expression changed, and he said in a low voice, I'll draw most of Lin Xian's attention. Seize the opportunity to insert the Devour Great Tao into his body. Now that it had come to this, Ao Xing knew that he had no other choice. At this point, he could only listen to Ningyu's arrangements and help Ningyu restrain Lin Xian. Otherwise, both he and Ningyu would die today. Dragon, roar to the 9 heavens. Ao Xing raised his head and roared, then transformed into his enormous dragon form and roared as he charged at Lin Xian. I guessed long ago that your true body is a true dragon. It really is so. Lin Xian was not too shocked. He waved his hands repeatedly and executed a fist technique that he learned a long time ago, the dragon trapping fist. The so-called dragon trapping fist had no effect on other human martial artists. It was only effective against the dragon race. Chance. Seeing Lin Xian execute the dragon trapping fist, Ningyu's face lit up, and he immediately displayed the Devour Great Tao and quietly approached Lin Xian. At this time, Lin Xian's attention was mostly on Ao Xing. How could he pay attention to Ningyu? To Lin Xian, if he could capture Ao Xing, then he could use a secret technique to refine Ao Xing, refining a true dragon and turning it into his second primordial spirit. Then his strength would increase several times. Heaven is really on my side. Lin Xian laughed wildly as he suppressed Ao Xing. This trip to the Quasi-Emperor mystic realm was indeed not in vain. When I find the great Emperor spirit liquid, I can also go and strive for the Quasi-Emperor realm. Is that so? Lin Xian had just spoken. An indifferent voice rang in his ears. Of course, Lin Xian said proudly. But very soon, Lin Xian's expression changed drastically and he hurriedly retreated. Because the martial artist who spoke was none other than Ningyu. At this time, Ningyu's voice sounded in his ear. Without a doubt, it was definitely not a good thing. However, it was clearly too late for Lin Xian to think of retreating now. Bang! Ningyu grabbed the Devour Great Tao and exerted force, forcing it into Lin Xian's body. Qi, qi, qi. As soon as the Devour Great Tao entered Lin Xian's body, a terrifying devouring power erupted, frantically devouring Lin Xian's flesh and blood. Great Tao! At this critical moment, Lin Xian hurriedly mobilized the Great Tao in his body and began to fight against Ningyu's Devour Great Tao. Unbeknownst to him, the Devour Great Tao was somewhat lacking in terms of devouring flesh and blood, but in terms of devouring other Great Tao, its power was abnormally terrifying. Crack! 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 Lin Xian was indeed an exceptional genius of the Shengming Empire. His cultivation was at the peak of the Tao domain realm, and the number of great Tao in his body had already reached 10, condensing 10 great Tao in the Tao domain realm. His strength would be abnormally powerful when he entered the Quasi-Emperor realm in the future. But unfortunately, Lin Xian was destined to not live to see that day. Under the frenzied devouring of the Devour Great Tao, just after the secret alarm clock, 5 of the 10 great Tao in Lin Xian's body were completely devoured. After devouring 5 great Tao, the Devour Great Tao's ranking advanced a little on the 3,000 great Tao list. Lin Xian let out a hysterical scream and hurriedly begged for mercy. Spare me! I'm from the Shengming Empire. If you kill me, the Shengming Empire will not let you off. The Shengming Empire's crown prince is here. Are you sure the Shengming Empire will not let me off? Chapter 2495. Chapter 2495. Chapter 2495. See through whoosh. Hearing Ningyu's words, Lin Xian's expression changed drastically. At first, he didn't think about the devouring Great Tao. Now that he heard what Ningyu said, he realized that it was the extremely mysterious devouring Great Tao that devoured his Great Tao. Being targeted by the Grand Tao of Devour There was no doubt that the grand Tao he'd condensed with great difficulty would transform into nothingness. I am willing to surrender. In order to protect his great Tao, Lin Xian gritted his teeth and said, "Please stop the devouring, great Tao. If it continues to devour, my strength will drop." "We can't stop." Lin Lang took a step forward and said fiercely, "Lin Xian, why didn't you expect such an outcome when you framed me that day?" "I was wrong, Lin Lang, I was wrong. Please plead for me. Let your friend spare my lowly life." With a thud, Lin Xian knelt down in front of Lin Lang and kowtowed profusely. Even though Lin Xian was kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy in reality, there was a cold glint in the corner of his eyes. Feigned to be a snake, he would first let Ningyu and the others lower their guard, then find a chance to leave. He still had a void talisman with him. As long as he activated the void talisman at the right time, he could easily escape. I advise you to kill him as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Ao Xing devoured the inner core of a Tao Advent Realm Demon Beast, as he said to Ningyu, "This kid's strength is extremely formidable. Even if you've devoured the grand Tao he condensed, he might still have trump cards." Ao Xing saw it clearly. When he was fighting Lin Xian just now, Ao Xing had given it his all, but in the end he was still almost defeated by Lin Xian. If not for Ningyu's great Tao of devouring, Ao Xing would have been defeated on the spot. Therefore, Ao Xing hated Lin Xian a little and paid extra attention to him for a few minutes. It was in these few minutes that Ao Xing noticed the coldness in the corner of Lin Xian's eyes. "Don't slander me." Lin Xian was so furious that his nose was crooked. Seeing that Ningyu was about to believe it, Ao Xing, the stupid dragon, tried to stop him. How could he not be angry? If it wasn't for the fact that he was being devoured by the devouring great Tao, he would have attacked on the spot and fought with Ao Xing again. Believe it or not, it's up to you. Ao Xing ignored Lin Xian's howls and shrugged his shoulders at Ningyu. "Let's get rid of him as soon as possible and head towards the core region of the Quasi-Emperor's secret realm. It's not safe here." Ao Xing did not want to stay. Not long ago, the Quasi-Emperor expert who was with Lin Xian had just left. What if that Quasi-Emperor expert returned and they were still here? Wouldn't that be very dangerous? Although demonic beasts of the same level were much stronger than human martial artists. However, who knew if that Quasi-Emperor had a trump card or not? "Don't worry, I know what to do." Ningyu nodded his head and moved his feet, walking towards Lin Xian step by step. A short moment later, Ningyu stood before Lin Xian and said, "Let me ask you a few questions. Firstly, how did the people of the Holy Ming Empire reach the core region of the Quasi-Emperor's secret realm so quickly?" Ningyu was very curious now. "You should know. Because of Ao Xing, they were able to reach the 18th illusion realm quickly and leave that place to come to the Maple Leaf Forest. However, Lin Xian and the others were already in the Maple Leaf Forest. From this, it seemed that they definitely had other ways to enter the core region. The Holy Ming Empire has a secret skill that can send many people to the entrance of the core region as long as 9 Quasi-Emperor experts perform it together." Lin Xian did not dare to hide anything and said without holding anything back, "I see." Ningyu suddenly understood. No wonder Lin Xian and the others could reach the Maple Leaf Forest first. After thinking for a while, Ningyu asked again, "If I reach the entrance of the core region like this, will I be killed by the 9 Quasi-Emperors of the Holy Ming Empire?" "Yes," Lin Xian replied. Ningyu raised his eyebrows. To be honest, Lin Xian's answer was out of his expectations. However, Lin Xian's second sentence made Ningyu's face turn pale. Lin Xian pointed at his nose and said, "When the time comes, you can pretend to be my servants. Those Quasi-Emperor experts will naturally not kill you. I really don't know how you cultivated to the peak of the Tao domain realm." Ningyu rolled his eyes. Then, with a thought, he started to rapidly activate the devouring Great Tao. People like Lin Xian were destined to be a scourge if they were left alive. The devouring great Tao continuously devoured Lin Xian's great Tao, causing him to let out a hysterical scream. "You went back on your word," Lin Xian screamed as he said. "You said that you would let me off, but you attacked me and let the devouring great Tao devour my great Tao. When did I say that I would let you off?" Ning Yu said calmly, "Don't think that I don't know that you are feigning and trying to escape with the Void Talisman on you." "How did you know that I have the Void Talisman?" Lin Xian turned pale with fright. The Void Talisman was his absolute trump card. Even the Holy Ming Empire's quasi-emperor experts did not know about it. He really couldn't understand how Ningyu knew about it. "Because I do." Lin Lang took a step forward and said, "There are not many Void Talismans in the entire Holy Ming Empire. Once they are activated, even a Holy Ming Empire expert would not be able to stop them. The Void Talisman has another name. It is called the Quasi-Emperor Talisman. It is said that it can easily avoid the pursuit of a Holy Ming Empire expert." Crack, crack, crack. Lin Xian gritted his teeth and clenched his fists tightly when he heard Lin Lang's words. It would take around 3 minutes to activate the Quasi-Emperor Talisman. Before Ningyu discovered it, he could try to activate the talisman and escape while Ningyu was off guard. However, now that Ningyu had discovered the Quasi-Emperor Talisman on him, it was almost impossible for him to activate it. He took a deep breath. Lin Xian said, "I can let you devour all the great Tao I have, but I only ask for one thing. I hope that you can spare my worthless life." "I'm sorry." Ningyu shrugged and said indifferently, "If you had begged me like this before, I might have spared your life. But now it's too late." Swoosh! The moment his voice fell, Ningyu sped up the devouring of the great Tao of devouring. Then he gripped the red demon sword and stabbed it straight at Lin Xian's heart. "Take this." Seeing that the red fiend sword was about to pierce his heart, Lin Xian suddenly took out a talisman and detonated it. Lin Lang only knew that he had a quasi-emperor talisman on him, but he did not know that he had a Tao domain talisman. The so-called Tao domain talisman was a talisman that could unleash the full power of a Tao domain expert. If he suddenly detonated the Tao domain talisman while Ningyu was off guard, he would definitely be able to severely injure Ningyu. "I knew that you would play tricks." Ningyu suddenly stopped in midair, holding the red fiend sword. He quickly dodged to the side. Rumble! The Tao domain talisman exploded, and a terrifying shockwave spread in all directions. Although the Tao domain talisman exploded, Ningyu was not at the center of the explosion. Coupled with the fact that he was prepared in advance, he was not affected. How is this possible? Lin Xian's face was filled with shock. The fact that Ningyu had so easily dodged the explosion of the Tao domain talisman terrified him. Apart from the quasi-emperor talisman, the Tao domain talisman was his only trump card. Chapter 2496. Hiding aura, there's nothing that's impossible. Ningyu waited until the aftermath of the Tao domain talisman's explosion dissipated before he said, "There's only one chance. You can't blame me if you don't know how to cherish it." As soon as he finished speaking, Ningyu stomped on the ground and dashed out. Seeing that Ningyu was about to reach him, Lin Xian said hurriedly, "Don't kill me. I'll give you the quasi-emperor talisman." As he spoke, Lin Xian flipped his wrist and took out the quasi-emperor talisman. To Lin Xian, the quasi-emperor talisman was perhaps the last key to his survival. If Ningyu wanted the quasi-emperor talisman, he still had a chance to negotiate with Ningyu and live. But if Ningyu did not value the quasi-emperor talisman, he would only end up dead. "You have no choice." Ningyu shook his head and stabbed out with the red fiend sword, piercing through Lin Xian's chest. Whoosh! The reason why Ningyu did not kill Lin Xian was because Lin Lang stopped him. The reason Lin Lang gave was very simple. Lin Xian had a very high status among the quasi-emperors of the Shengming Empire, or rather the core region. Leaving Lin Xian alive might have an unexpected effect when they reached the core region of the quasi-emperor mystic realm. I'll leave him to you. Ning Yu removed the quasi-emperor talisman from Lin Xian's body and threw it into the red fiend's sword before kicking Lin Xian to Lin Lang. Actually, Ning Yu would not have killed Lin Xian, even if Lin Lang had not said so. Even a fool could see the enmity between Lin Lang and Lin Xian. Handing Lin Xian to Lin Lang was the best solution. Very good. Right after Ning Yu defeated Lin Xian, Aoxing's face was filled with joy. Ning Yu turned to look. My Aoxing. This caused Ning Yu to curse. Such an enormous Dao Advent realm demon beast was actually completely swallowed by Aoxing, and not even its skeleton remained. As for Aoxing's cultivation, it also soared from peak Dao domain realm to Dao Advent realm. Ning Yu was taken aback by the speed at which his cultivation soared. You should know, he had used the devouring great Dao to devour the 10 great Daos that Lin Xian had condensed. His current overall combat strength was only comparable to a late-stage Dao domain realm cultivator. Aoxing, on the other hand, it directly soared to the Dao Advent realm. Dao Advent realm and Dao domain realm were two completely different concepts, especially for a true dragon expert like Aoxing. The Dao Advent realm was a qualitative leap. Before, when Aoxing was at the peak Dao domain realm, he could only fight with peak Dao domain realm genius martial artists and not be at a disadvantage. But now, even if he still didn't have a body, Aoxing wouldn't fall into a disadvantageous position even if he fought a late-stage Dao Advent realm or even a peak Dao Advent realm martial artist. Even under the precondition that he utilized his trump card, it was possible for Aoxing to kill a peerless expert at the peak of the Dao Advent realm. Don't be angry. Lin Xian has more good things than a Dao Advent realm demonic beast. Aoxing glanced at Lin Xian, who was being controlled by Lin Lang, and said to Ning Yu, after you refine Lin Xian, your cultivation will definitely be able to advance to peak Immortal King. Cut the crap, let's go quickly. Ning, you couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with Aoxing. Since he had already dealt with Lin Xian, there was no point in staying. For now, it was to leave this area as soon as possible to prevent demonic beasts and quasi-emperor experts from coming over. After all, there had just been a huge battle here, and some quasi-emperor demonic beasts in the Maple Leaf Forest might be rushing over. Staying here, now, was no different from courting death. That's what I was thinking. Aoxing didn't stand on ceremony. He leaped up and sped off into the distance. Although the Maple Leaf Forest was extremely dangerous, after advancing to the Dao Advent realm, Aoxing could already use some of the dragon race's trump cards. At this moment, he was full of confidence. Let's go too. Ning Yu grabbed Lin Lang and left behind Aoxing. As for Long Air, Long San, and the rest, they just followed Ning Yu, not daring to go far. Long Air and Long San's cultivation was only peak Immortal King. If they encountered a Dao domain expert, they would definitely die. Only by following behind Ning Yu could they ensure their safety. The Maple Leaf Forest was huge. Ning Yu, Aoxing, and the rest traveled at full speed for a few more hours, but they still hadn't reached the end of the Maple Leaf Forest. However, during these few hours, Ning Yu and the rest encountered many Dao domain realm demonic beasts. It was unknown if Aoxing felt guilty in his heart, but all the Dao domain realm demonic beasts they encountered along the way were killed by him. After killing the Dao domain realm demonic beasts, Aoxing only collected some blood essence and threw it to Ning Yu. Ning, you naturally wouldn't stand on ceremony. Except for the 3 Dao domain realm demonic beasts that were placed in the Red Fiend's sword for future use. The remaining Dao domain realm demonic beasts were all devoured by Ning Yu, without exception. After devouring several Dao domain realm demonic beasts, Ning Yu's cultivation also advanced further, soaring from late-stage Immortal King to peak Immortal King. For Ningyu, although it was only a small increase in his cultivation base, his overall strength had risen to a terrifying level. With peak Immortal King cultivation, even if he encountered a peak Dao Domain Realm expert, he would still be fearless. Of course, Lin Lang and the Dark Emperor also obtained some benefits. Among them, the Dark Emperor advanced to peak mid-stage Immortal King, only one step away from advancing to late-stage Immortal King. Lin Lang was slightly stronger than the Dark Emperor. His cultivation had reached peak mid-stage Immortal King, only half a step away from late-stage Immortal King. Be careful, there's a huge battle ahead. After advancing a distance again, Ao Xing's expression changed, and he said in a deep voice, "It's a battle between quasi-emperors." Lin Lang, bring Lin Xian into the Red Fiend Sword. Since Ao Xing sensed it, Ningyu naturally sensed it as well. He instructed Lin Lang to enter the Red Fiend Sword to prevent himself from being affected by the aftermath of the battle. Of course, Lin Lang and Lin Xian entered the Red Fiend Sword. Long Air and Long Sen also entered the Red Fiend Sword. Two humans, two demonic beasts. Ningyu stared into the distance and said in a deep voice, "If I'm not wrong, those two humans should be from the Sage Ming Empire." "How do you know?" Ao Xing asked, puzzled. The two humans in front were not the quasi-emperor experts who had left earlier. Ao Xing could not understand why Ningyu could see through their identities. That's simple. Ningyu pointed to one of the quasi-emperor experts and explained, "Look carefully, there's a golden token hanging on his chest. There are 4 small words on the token, Sage Ming Empire." "That works too." Ao Xing was a little dumbfounded. He was a little impressed by Ningyu. His observation was so detailed that it was simply terrifying. At the same time, Ao Xing restrained himself a little, afraid that Ningyu would see through him. "What do we do now?" Ao Xing quickly returned to normal and asked, "Do we stay and watch, or do we go around and reach the entrance of the core region?" "This place shouldn't be too far from the entrance of the core region. Let's wait and see. Who knows, there might be people from other forces rushing here after a period of time." Ningyu's figure flashed, and he suddenly tunneled into the void and disappeared. That's true. Chapter 2497. Chapter 2497. Chapter 2497. Entrance to the core region. Swoosh! It seemed to confirm Ningyu's guess. Ningyu and Ao Xing had just entered the void when 3 figures sped over from afar. Hiss! Even though Ningyu was prepared in advance, he couldn't help but gasp when he sensed the aura emanating from these 3 figures. Quasi-emperors. These 3 cultivators were all first-stage quasi-emperors. However, they were all early-stage, first-stage quasi-emperors. There was no mid-stage, first-stage quasi-emperor. Crack! These 3 cultivators seemed to have discovered the battlefield in the distance. Without saying a word, they entered the void on the spot and got closer to Ningyu and Ao Xing, as they all concealed their auras to prevent them from leaking. The 3 quasi-emperor experts did not discover Ningyu and Ao Xing even though they were so close. Ningyu and Ao Xing were different. They entered the void one step ahead and had a rough judgment of the location of the 3 quasi-emperor experts. Whoosh! A few more minutes passed. The void trembled again as a cultivator sped over. Like the previous 3 cultivators, this cultivator also discovered the battlefield in the distance. He entered the void again. In the following period of time, there were a total of dozens of cultivators. These cultivators were early-stage, first-stage quasi-emperors, while the weakest were peak immortal kings. Ningyu was somewhat confused. Why could peak immortal kings pass through the maple leaf forest and come here? The maple leaf forest was extremely dangerous. Even Dao domain experts had to be extremely careful. It was not easy for peak immortal kings to come here. They probably had some ability. There are so many people. I'm afraid the battlefield will shift here. Ao Xing hid in the void and did not even dare to speak loudly. With so many quasi-emperors, he, a Tao Descent Realm True Dragon, could only tremble. Once his true form was exposed, the consequences would be unimaginable. Jinx! Ning Yu was about to reply when he saw the battlefield in the distance, shifting over. Rumble. Not long after, the two quasi-emperor experts in the periphery were affected and joined the battle. It was originally a battle between two sides, but now it had turned into a three-way battle. Two demonic beasts, two experts from the Holy Ming Empire, and two experts from the sections. Rumble. This harmonious situation did not last long. Another 3 minutes passed. Another two quasi-emperor experts were affected. All of a sudden, the battle had turned into a chaotic battle. How unlucky! Ao Xing was so angry that his nose was crooked. If he had known this would happen, he would have gone around the battlefield and waited in the core area. But very quickly, Ao Xing realized how wise it was to stay. Roar! Roar! Several earth-shattering roars suddenly rang out from the direction of the core area. The quasi-emperor demonic beasts in the Maple Forest had all gathered together and were fighting with the quasi-emperor experts of the Shengming Empire in the core region. The battlefield continued to expand. What should we do? Ao Xing was somewhat flustered. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before the battle reached him. He and Ning Yu were two weak martial artists. Once they got involved in the battle, they would definitely die. There was no doubt that they would die. One was at the peak of the Immortal King realm, and the other was at the Tao Advent realm. Probably not even their bones would be left. Swish! Just when Ao Xing was flustered, the void split again, and a giant rock emerged from the void. Stop! The giant rock raised its head and cried, and then said coldly, "This is the Maple Forest. If you don't want to die, stop now. Otherwise, I'll kill all of you." Second stage, Quasi-Emperor. Ning Yu's expression changed when he sensed the aura emanating from the giant rock. The giant rock's cultivation was not first stage Quasi-Emperor, but second stage Quasi-Emperor. The strongest martial artists who were involved in the battle were only middle stage, first stage Quasi-Emperor. Now that a second stage Quasi-Emperor giant rock had appeared, who would dare to continue the battle? Hence, the battle stopped instantly, and the demonic beasts and humans separated. The two quasi-emperors of the Holy Ming Empire were on one side. The demonic beasts returned to the giant rock side, and the rest of the quasi-emperor experts were on the other side. Ning Yu and Ao Xing also appeared from the void and hid in the crowd. I won't stop you if you want to go to the core area of the quasi-emperor mystic realm to search for opportunities. But I'm warning you, if anyone dares to fight in the Maple Forest again, don't blame me for being rude. As they spoke, the giant rock left with the quasi-emperor demonic beasts. It was not until a long time after the giant rock disappeared that the remaining quasi-emperor experts began to rush toward the entrance of the core area. Who knew if the giant rock would change its mind? After all, the giant rock was a second stage quasi-emperor. Once it changed its mind, no one would be able to escape. Why didn't the giant rock attack us? Ning Yu asked doubtfully as he mixed in the crowd and rushed toward the entrance of the core area. Don't think that he has any good intentions. Ao Xing explained. If I'm not wrong, when we enter the core area, the giant rock will bring the quasi-emperor demonic beasts in. I see. Ning Yu suddenly understood. So that's why. No wonder the giant rock did not kill them. It turned out that it wanted them to be the vanguard and explore the way. The intelligence of the second stage quasi-emperor giant rock was indeed high. However, even if he knew, Ning Yu had no other choice. He could only follow the group into the core area. If he stayed, he would only die. Swish! Swish! The entrance to the core area of the quasi-emperor mystic realm was a spacious open space. At this moment, this open space had long been occupied by the quasi-emperor experts of the Holy Ming Empire. All of you, stop! Seeing so many experts dashing over, Lin Tai sucked in a deep breath and wanted to shout to stop them. Bang! Unfortunately, a quasi-emperor expert next to Lin Tai kicked his butt and said coldly, "Fool! Even if you don't want to live, we still want to live." They originally thought that the other 8 super forces would not send quasi-emperor experts over. Now it seemed that they had thought too much. A quasi-emperor mystic realm, and a high-level one at that, which could possibly produce great emperor spiritual liquid, who would not want a share of the loot. If the Holy Ming Empire could gather 9 quasi-emperor experts, the other 8 forces could naturally do the same. The only difference was the number of quasi-emperor experts of the other 8 forces was much less than the Holy Ming Empire. However, that was only in comparison. If the 8 forces joined together, they would be a terrifying force. Even the Holy Ming Empire would have to think twice. At this time, Lin Tai actually wanted to threaten them. What was the difference between this and seeking death? Being stopped by a quasi-emperor expert, Lin Tai's eyes revealed a cold expression. However, he managed to conceal his cold and gloomy expression very well. Whoosh! No one stopped them. The remaining experts of the 8 forces landed on the open space and found an area to rest and recuperate. The chaotic battle earlier had a great impact on everyone. Anyway, the entrance to the core area had not opened yet. Now was the best time to recuperate. If they missed this opportunity, there would not be another one. Chapter 2498. Chapter 2498. Chapter 248. Fighting broke out fortunately. These people from the Holy Ming Empire were not fools. It was obviously unwise to clash with the people of the 8 great forces now. Perhaps the 8 great powers would be connected because of this. If the 8 forces joined forces, it would be extremely bad news for the Holy Ming Empire. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, an hour passed. During this 1 hour, the 2 quasi-emperor experts of the Holy Ming Empire and the other 8 forces had all recovered to their peak state. Where's Lin Xian? At this moment, the quasi-emperors of the Sage Ming Empire realized a problem. Lin Xian, who'd entered the maple forest to hunt Dao Advent realm demon beasts earlier, was actually not here. The maple leaf forest had already been sealed off by the giant rocks, and no one could enter now. Since Lin Xian hadn't returned yet, didn't that bode ill rather than well? Whoosh! The quasi-emperors of the Holy Ming Empire immediately shifted their gazes to a bald quasi-emperor. The bald quasi-emperor had followed Lin Xian into the maple forest to hunt Dao Advent realm demonic beasts. Now that the bald quasi-emperor had returned but Lin Xian had not, one could not help but feel suspicious. Why are you looking at me? The bald quasi-emperor's eyes widened, and he said hurriedly, I told you that I helped Lin Xian kill a Dao Advent realm demonic beast, and then I was chased by a quasi-emperor demonic beast. I had no choice but to retreat. All right. Suddenly, the bald quasi-emperor said, before I left, I discovered a few people from the Dragon War Empire. Voila! The words of the bald quasi-emperor had directly pushed the Dragon War Empire to the teeth of the storm. The Dragon War Empire had sent a total of 2 quasi-emperors this time around, and both of them were early-stage first-order quasi-emperors. One of them was a peak early-level quasi-emperor, only half a step away from becoming a mid-level quasi-emperor. When he heard the bald quasi-emperor's words, he took a step forward and unleashed his aura as he said coldly, Baldy, don't slander me. All the people from the Dragon War Empire are with me, who will reach the Maple Leaf Forest first and fight with Lin Xian. I was just saying, why are you so agitated? The bald quasi-emperor said calmly, if you didn't feel guilty, you probably wouldn't be as agitated as you are now. Tell me, why did your Dragon War Empire want to kill Lin Xian? Venomous slander. The peak early first order quasi-emperor's face turned extremely unsightly as he spat viciously. If you're out to punish someone, you can always find a pretext. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you're from the Holy Ming Empire. I'll be honest with you. This time, the 8 forces have already secretly contacted each other. As long as one of the forces is suppressed by the Holy Ming Empire, the other 7 forces will attack unconditionally. Sha sha sha. As if to confirm the words of this peak early first rank quasi-emperor. The moment he spoke, the quasi-emperors of the other factions took a step forward and stood side by side with him. However, out of the 7 major forces, only 3 of them stepped forward and joined forces with the Dragon War Empire. The other 4 forces remained neutral. Mo Feng's face turned extremely cold. He didn't expect that the 4 forces would go back on their word. Don't they know that these quasi-emperors of the Holy Ming Empire kill without batting an eyelid? If he cooperated with the Holy Ming Empire now, he wouldn't even know how he died later. Don't blame us. The quasi-emperor of the Night Soul sect wore a calm expression as he said to Mo Feng, "The Holy Ming Empire's offer is too great. We can't refuse." Sha sha! As they spoke, the 2 quasi-emperors of the Night Soul sect moved toward the Holy Ming Empire's camp, with the quasi-emperors of the Night Soul sect taking the lead. Some of the quasi-emperors who had pledged allegiance to the Holy Ming Empire walked over and joined the Holy Ming Empire's camp. Ha ha ha! Seeing this, the bald quasi-emperor threw his head back and laughed wildly. Then he looked at Mo Feng and said fiercely, "Trash, if you knew this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? All those who oppose the Holy Ming Empire will not have a good ending." Uft! Before the bald quasi-emperor could finish his words, he felt his body lighten and was sent flying into the distance. Bang! His body hit the ground and blood spurted out. The bald quasi-emperor's early First Order quasi-emperor aura instantly dropped to the heaven-receiving realm. Moreover, it continued to drop. Attack! After defeating the bald quasi-emperor with one punch, the quasi-emperor of the Night Soul sect shouted, "Today we must slaughter everyone from the Holy Ming Empire!" Rumble. As the quasi-emperor of the Night Soul sect shouted, a great battle broke out instantly. Among the 8 major forces, there were a total of 13 quasi-emperors, 10 heaven-receiving realm experts, 5 Dao Advent realm experts, 1 Dao Domain realm expert, and 1 Peak Immortal King expert. On the Holy Ming Empire's side, among the 9 quasi-emperors, only 8 still had the ability to fight. The bald expert had almost lost the ability to fight. There were 3 heaven-receiving realm experts, 2 Dao Advent realm experts, 1 Dao Domain realm expert, and a dozen Peak Immortal King experts like Lin Tai. However, even a heaven-receiving realm expert might not be able to survive such a terrifying battle, let alone a Peak Immortal King expert. Rumble. The battle was unusually fierce. There was no doubt that the 8 quasi-emperors were at an absolute disadvantage against the 13 quasi-emperors. Although they were at a disadvantage, the 13 quasi-emperors would not be able to kill them in a short time. This was because among the quasi-emperors of the Holy Ming Empire, there were 2 peak early-stage quasi-emperors and 1 middle-stage quasi-emperor. The strength of a middle-stage quasi-emperor was extremely powerful, and they would not be at a disadvantage against 2. Kill. After asking for Lin Lang's opinion, Ning Yu decided to attack the people of the Holy Ming Empire. Lin Lang had said, "These people of the Holy Ming Empire were all members of the Civil Strife faction. They wanted to take the opportunity to create chaos in the Holy Ming Empire and then seize power." Ao Xing faced a middle-stage Dao Advent Realm expert, while Ningyu faced a late-stage Dao Domain Realm expert. During the trip to the Maple Leaf Forest, Ningyu had already raised his strength to the peak Dao Domain Realm. Unless he encountered a Dao Advent Realm expert, he was invincible in the Dao Domain Realm. Rumble. The battle broke out instantly. Ningyu was almost suppressing the Dao Domain Realm expert of the Holy Ming Empire. Puff! Merely using a minute, Ning Yu killed the Holy Ming Empire's Dao Domain Realm expert. After killing the late-stage Dao Domain Realm martial artist, Ning Yu did not rashly join another battlefield. Instead, his figure flashed, charging towards Lin Tai and the rest. The battle between Dao Advent Realm and Heaven Receiving Realm experts was extremely dangerous. Either way, nothing would happen to Ao Xing for the time being, so Ningyu decided to capture Lin Tai and the rest first before talking. "Don't kill me." Seeing Ningyu charge towards him, Lin Tai shouted, "I'm willing to submit. I'm willing to submit to you." Lin Tai was not stupid. Ningyu easily killing the Holy Ming Empire's Dao Domain expert was sufficient to show that Ningyu's strength far surpassed Dao Domain Realm, and might even reach Dao Advent Realm. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.